Hello, everybody. We are here. We're a
Hi,
couple minutes
everyone.
late, but we're here and we're doing good.
It's my fault. I made us
Josie's
late.
fault. No,
It's
all
all
right.
my fault.
So, everybody, this is the Transatlantic Call-In Show. It is October 24th. We are under 2 weeks out from the election, right? Isn't that on Tuesday? It was 2 weeks from last Tuesday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 12 days, but who's counting?
Yeah. Oh, I already cast my early ballot, and I am the second I did, I spiraled into existential dread because it was like, oh, the one thing I can do about this is now out of my hands, and now I just have to wait and endure. Obviously, we're doing lots of stuff on the line, so it's not just waiting. But yeah, how are you doing, Josie?
I am doing well. I'm feeling much healthier, so that's good. That's good news.
Good.
Yeah, I am working wall to wall all day. It's just like I literally had like 15 to 30 minutes between all of my meetings today to go right. Arden will tell you, I literally got on right on time, and
Yeah.
then my partner was across the desk, like chatting real quick. I was like, "Get out of here! Get out of the room! Like, what are you doing? You know that this is my time." And you put like an on-air live sign up, and but no, it's been busy. It's been busy. I mean, it's been a wild time.
Yeah. So, we are going to try to do a little bit of a political angle on the show today. So, if you are like an abstaining third party voter who like kind of wants to be like, what's the big deal? And kind of will tie it into trans rights somewhere along there. Let's talk about that. You are a Trump voter who likes Trump's policies on trans care. Let's talk about that. We really want to listen. The line has been being very annoying lately about electoralism, right? Because the one action that can give you the best chance at defeating authoritarianism, at defeating Christian nationalism right now is voting for Kamala Harris, in my opinion. And this race is unbelievably close, and I am terrified and sick to my stomach every day thinking about what the next 4 years are going to look like if we fail. So I really want to encourage you guys, go to transformthevote.org to check your registration, check your polling place, all that good stuff. They also have like know your rights and information for if you're nervous about voting in person and like voter ID stuff. So yeah, this is all a really big deal. And we're going to be really annoying about it here too for the next 2 weeks. So then after I will fuck off. Okay. And you guys can go back to doing normal trans rights calls that are also frustrating, but for different reasons.
It's only every 2 years, everybody, we have a really wild election cycles. It's gubernatorial, congressional, and the off year, double year. Not the off year, but every other 2 years. But this is like, you can handle 2 episodes of talking about some political stuff every 4 years. Okay, like, come on. Like, this is what it's about. We got to continue the fight, and also trans people by the statistics, 81% civically engaged, 86% more likely to be registered to vote, 76% more likely to actually vote. Like, that's our community, and we beat the general U.S. population on every one of those metrics. Okay, so it's our duty. We always stand up. We're always in front, and that's why we're going to be talking about it.
Hell fucking yeah. So I see there's a screener call being screened. We do have open lines. The number is 720-619-2288. 720-619-2288. So please give us a call. I guess I said originally no advice calls. We can open a line for an advice call, but I really want to keep the scope of this show a little bit more focused. So definitely call in. Also, well, 82% of us, or however much you said, are registered to vote and are very politically active. I know we have a very, very left-leaning audience, and there's a strong contingent of people on the left who are protesting. And so, you know, the only reason I harp so much on the protest voters, guys, is because I think you're reachable. And I think most of you are reasonable, and I think most of you are protesting for a good moral instinct, but I think it's misled. And I hope that we can appeal to you and encourage you to get out and vote. for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, call in. Call in. If you are not voting or you are voting Green Party, call in as well. Like, seriously. Yeah. Like, I want to talk to you because I have a lot of really interesting questions to ask. Because I am incredibly miffed by what is going on right now with the conversations around not voting and also not voting or voting for Green Party. Like, I gotta know. Like, what is your reasoning and what is your material strategy for change? Like, that is actually going to benefit our community. So call in. Seriously, I really want to know, as somebody who's been on the street since Occupy Wall Street, I want to be able to chat with you and talk to you about what these conditions on the ground has looked like through the progressive lens and where I am as a, strong advocate within the community for Harris.
Yep. Sorry, 1 second. Miss Screener messaged me. Okay. Yeah, so definitely, and that's why I wanted Josie to be on the next 2 weeks, and I am probably on the TACUS team the most annoying person about the pro-electoralism stuff, and I've been doing the weekend debates. I've been on a couple of those. I've been hosting a bunch of them. Josie's going to be on this weekend with Forrest.
I am.
And we're going to be...
And I'm surprised you haven't tagged me in, Coach. Like, what's going on here?
Well, to be fair, you were sick for a part of that. We wanted to have you on more episodes, but you were not well for part of that. But we will get you in. Yes. So I've been doing this for the last several weeks, talking about this topic, and I'm willing to bet a lot of people in this audience haven't been watching those shows, because I know a lot of people on TACUS don't necessarily watch every show. The only other thing I want to say is that, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I realized the other day that not a single episode in 2024 of TACUS has had over 1,000 comments. And since I feel like this episode might piss off a contingent of our audience, I want to encourage you to have a discussion in the comments. I would really like to see us, before 2024 ends, to hit 1,000 comments on at least one of these shows. So when this is over, voice your thoughts, get in the debate. Let's have a conversation about everything that's going on.
And I will make the commitment that I will join you in those comments. I know Arden does the hard work of going into the comments and chatting with all of you. I will also jump in the comments and start chirping away like all of you.
Yeah, I usually only do for about a day, because after that, usually the comments become repetitive, or it's like the one troll who just barely found the episode that wants to jump in. But I do, for at least like 24 hours, usually try to participate in the comments. So, all right, let's look at our last week's poll really quick.
Yeah.
So last week's poll was, do you think the anti-trans political ads being run across the country are effective? 36% said yes, and 64% said no. Josie, do you want to talk on that for a minute? I have thoughts, but...
Yeah. I also see that we had 8.2 thousand votes, which is a pretty good number of folks that voted on this, which is good. 64% saying no. I think, that is like, no, they're not effective. We see it across the board that it's not effective. And I would be really interested to see, like, the folks that say yes, is it because you're tired of it going into the discourse, and then all of a sudden you're knocking on doors, making phone calls, and people are like, well, these trans people, and it just kind of becomes at the tip of the tongue of the talking points of, like, the most extremist. So I'm really interested, because I hope that the people who say yes aren't demotivated and don't vote. That's the one thing that I want to make sure that that's not the case.
Yeah, I think, I know you kind of talked about it last week too, but I would be inclined to say no on this poll, because while I do think that they appeal to Trump's base, they appeal to the bigotry and the anger, a lot of the candidates who have made their primary focus anti-trans messaging have lost their races. I think it's different for Trump, because Trump was already doing really well in this race, and so it doesn't quite apply to him. But I think generally speaking, anti-trans messaging has not been as effective for the Republican right-wing party. Is it effective at fomenting bigotry? Yeah, absolutely. But at actually getting politicians elected, I think that's where I'm more inclined to say I don't see that as much.
Yeah, I will say this really quick, and it looks like we finally we got a caller in here. But one thing I also want to say, this was something that I was talking to one of my political analyst friends as I talk nerdy with a bunch of folks across the country, is that these anti-trans ads are a desperate attempt because the fact that the Trump campaign knows that they're going to lose. So what they're trying to do is foment the rage against trans people. So when Trump loses, the Republicans get their marching orders to try to strip us of our rights, because that's the thing, that's the most pressing issue, because they ended the campaign with this issue. So they're going to try to go after us as a pound of flesh for us to be defeated as people, for the cost of losing their election, across the board. So I think that's also some legitimacy to that theory.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, it really depends on how you interpret this. And I know people complain that they're not clear enough. That's the point. It gets you guys to engage and comment and talk about the nuances of the conversation. But real quick, we're going to talk about, just read this week's poll, which is go up in the live chat right now. And that reads, will Trump's anti-trans and anti-science policies on gender-affirming care be motivating you to vote for Harris in the 2024 presidential election? So very specifically asking, will it motivate you to vote for Harris? So I'm very interested to see how our audience responds to this, and we will touch on those results later. But we have a call, that's kind of in the vein of what we asked for. So are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. So Mouse, pronouns are he, him in Illinois, asks, do you think the Democrats are actually allies to the trans community? I love this question. Go ahead and give it to us, Mouse. What's on your mind?
Hi. I guess I'm just wondering, since you guys seem to be encouraging people to vote for Harris, Democrats make concessions on a lot of issues that I care about. If this is something, for the trans community, you're saying just for that, you should vote Democrats. How do you know they won't eventually concede on that as well?
Well, nobody has a crystal ball. Go ahead, Josie.
So this is a good question, because the question is more not just about trans issues, but just the political stance of the Democratic Party versus like the Republican Party. The old adage of the Republicans are strong and the Democrats are weak, kind of adage, where it's like, oh, we elect Democrats, but they're weak on issues, so therefore they concede on issues more likely, is something that has been said for a long time. And one of the things to think about here is, we know, and look, like, this answer is not going to be like the perfect, oh my gosh, let me solve this issue for you, Mouse. This is going to be an answer of where we are as a community and what we have the options in front of us. I like to use the words, we vote for the conditions for which we organize, right? There is no perfect candidate. There is no perfect party that will be able to solve these issues. And what I mean by we vote for the conditions for which we organize, I would rather argue with Democrats that understand that people need access to health, need access to bodily autonomy, that actually would vote for the Equality Act if the Equality Act passes their desk, than a Republican who is, Donald Trump, who has already stated just a few days ago that he wants to eliminate healthcare for all trans youth. He has been peddling lies, talking about how they're performing surgeries in schools. He has been peddling lies about the frequency of trans-related healthcare being given to migrants and prisoners. And I know that I will have a better response to chat with the Harris administration than the door being slammed in my face or worse in the Trump administration. Does that make sense?
Yes, I get what you're saying about who you're organizing against, but wouldn't you say that liberals were kind of more willing to organize against Trump? I mean, they were protesting kids in cages, but now they're not, you know?
Yeah.
But how effective was that, though? When we protested Trump, like, we got tear gassed in the square in DC, right? Where Trump literally asked if we could shoot him in the legs, right? Like the reality is, it's like, yeah, we were more motivated because we lost our right and access to join the military. There was discrimination orders given to the urban house and development, where they said you can legally discriminate against trans people. But we had reversals of healthcare protections across this country for trans people to even receive general healthcare. So of course people were more angry, but that didn't change the fact that we were actively being defeated around every turn when it came to the administration's power.
But aren't trans rights being rolled back right now under a Democratic administration as well?
I mean, they're not advancing as much as I would like, but I definitely wouldn't characterize though in the states where trans rights are being rolled back, it has nothing to do with the Biden administration or Democrat policy, right? Those are all conservative, far-right politicians. And Trump will enable them to go further.
Trump will enable them to go further, but a Democrat can't stop them.
I don't think Democrats can't stop them. I think, but Democrats are our best chance, right? Here, Mouse, true or false? Either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump will be president.
True.
Okay, I agree. Those are the only options. And Trump will make things worse for us, will enable them. Will Democrats do enough for me? No. They've never done enough for me, personally, but they are the best chance at moving the Overton window further left. I mean, Tim Walz is the most progressive candidate for vice president we have ever seen, and he is very pro-trans. I also love the way he talks about trans rights. He says the trans community like someone who actually has talked to a trans person before in his life, not like a Democrat who has been prepped on this by an aide and is actually terrified of the words coming out of their mouth. I don't think that Democrats can't stop it, per se. I think there are obviously institutional barriers. You can't just... The president is not a king. He can't just march in and say, the law of the land is that trans people get whatever fucking healthcare they want, as cool as that would be. But our best chance at having a barrier to those people, at pushing back against them and actually making meaningful progress, is going to be with Kamala Harris as president.
Yeah.
And while I do get that Kamala Harris or Trump will be president, I think the problem is that so many people are glued to the Democrat Party. Like, no one's willing. Are you willing to think voting differently? I mean, I think that's the problem. No one.
Not in our current system.
For a third party to win, So
yeah, it's
a different option.
Right, Mouse. And so I studied American politics in college, and one of the things, like, in a perfect system, if we had like ranked choice voting in this country and we actually had infrastructure for a third party, then I would agree with you. If we were more of a parliamentary system like the UK or even Germany, like, we'd be like, yeah, vote for the person because they have things called coalitional governmental systems, right? Where you actually, even though a minority party exists, they team up with one of the parties that are already in power to then create a coalitional government and to win the favor of that. Like in France, like in the UK and things like that, right? So essentially where we are is we have not had an actual legitimate third party system since probably the fall of like the Whig Party, and when you had the Bull Moose Party that essentially killed, I think, the Whigs and made the Republicans, and like so there was like I think that was right. I think I was right about that. No, I'm wrong about that. That's when the party flipped. When Lincoln was in office, right? Like the Republicans happened because of Lincoln. So when you have all of these systems, it's not a system where it's like, oh, we're all going to vote. There's usually fissures within the party system. So I'm going to give you a little scenario of how we can see a third party flourish in the United States, and then I'll also go into why the Green Party is a poor attempt of what a third party looks like. So right now we have the Democrats and the Republicans, and what we are seeing is that the Republicans are becoming more extreme and more radical. This is a theory, right? This is a Josie theory. And this is how I can see a third party coming up. So you see the radicalization of the Republican Party, and you see it going more extreme, and you're starting to see Republicans that are now going towards Democrats, like Liz Cheney, even Dick Cheney. You have Mitt Romney, who's basically a borderline Democrat at this point, and you have all of these Republicans who are like, I'm not comfortable with these Republican MAGA supporters, so we're going to go over to the Democrats. Now, if that happened at scale where there was like a lot, then the Democratic Party becomes too big, right? Like all of a sudden it's like you have this Democratic Party who's losing their identity because more conservatives are going into it, and it becomes too big of a tent where then the Democrats become like more conservative Democrat, and then there's the liberal Democrat. And then you see a split right down the middle of the Democratic Party to then create a third party where you would have the MAGA, you would have the Democrat, and you would have whatever the left incarnation of a split Democratic Party would be. The reason that would be one of the only ways we would become a third party system is because there would be already representatives that are elected under that banner that will allow them to garner support, the infrastructure that they bring with them, the voting power, the donor power, and all of that stuff. So it would take a political party in the current iteration to split in half to take the half of the machine with them, so there would actually be a mechanism for those people to get elected. Now, the Green Party has been in power for nearly 4 decades. They have not gained any senatorial power. They have gained no representative congressional power. They've gotten a few mayorships, but they were short-lived. No state houses, no really anything outside of very small city council areas and very remote liberal bastions, right? Like very remote lefty bastions. They have not acted like a political party. They have acted like a protest vote, where the political power of the presidency of like, oh, we're running for president, everybody gear up the machine so we can run and raise millions of dollars to raise political funds for our political party, and then we're going to shut it all down after we lose, right? Think about AOC, for example. AOC got elected outside of the Democratic Party system because a small organization called the Justice Democrats focused on 1 or 2 races that election cycle to get one person elected and was able to get one representative. Why can't the Green Party do that, right? If they've been doing that for 40 years, they would have 50 representatives in Congress right now, right? But they don't, because they don't care enough to actually make the vote effective and acting like an actual political party, right? Does that make sense?
I get what you're saying, I suppose, about the Greens, although I think part of the reason they run in the presidential election is at least partially because in New York you have to have ran someone in the last gubernatorial or presidential election to even qualify as a political party.
I mean, Jill Stein's staffer literally said part of their goal is to undermine the Harris campaign. So let's not pretend that the Green Party is running for noble reasons. They're literally trying to undermine a Harris win.
Yeah, and Mouse, like what you're talking about, like to be an effective party, right? You have to be able to deliver something for the parties politically. So, for example, like Jill Stein had the opportunity of bringing on a presidential running mate for vice president, which was a Palestinian woman, like a woman from Palestine, that was ready to join the ticket and make the genocide the major campaign issue. The reason she was not selected for the Green Party ticket for vice president is because the Palestinian woman wanted to make conditions for the Green Party to follow, which was this: if they if you call for a ceasefire, do an arms embargo, and follow this checklist of things, if the Kamala Harris campaign agrees to all of those things, then the Green Party would back up the Harris campaign and push all of their voters to the Democrats this election cycle. But Jill Stein said absolutely not, because that is not what we're here for. And that shows that there is an inability for the Green Party to actually work within the party system and act like a minority party, right? Because that's what you do as a minority party. You bring home the goods, and then the next election cycle, they can actually be political change. And that, to me, I felt was a very strong proof that the Green Party doesn't actually care about the Gaza situation and only care about undermining Harris, because if they actually cared about that issue, they could have been politically viable in saying that we will deliver you this 2% of the electorate across the country to the campaign and definitely defeat Trump. But that was a no-go. That wasn't even on the table for negotiation. And to me, that is not politically responsible.
If that means to you that she doesn't care about Gaza, then Kamala Harris saying she's against an arms embargo totally must mean she doesn't care about Gaza, right?
I would agree with you, Mouse, that I don't think the Democrats care nearly enough about the Gaza situation. Regardless, Trump has said he wants them to finish the job. What's worse than the tens and hundreds of thousands of Gazans whose lives are at risk right now? All of them being at risk. All of them being at risk is far worse than that. And at least Kamala Harris has demonstrated, that she is open to being moved on this issue. Is it going to be enough for either you or I? Absolutely not. I am not committed to the Dems. But I recognize that we live in a two-party system. And if this is a simple trolley problem, there is a track where millions of people die, and there's a track where 200,000 people die. I'm disgusted by the 200,000, but if I can stop that extra 800,000 from dying, I'm going to pull that fucking lever.
Yeah. So and also okay, go ahead.
I've been,
go ahead.
This is only slightly related, I guess, but I've been reading a lot of anti-electoralist arguments lately, and you're really making them sound convincing, because this lesser evilism is disgusting, and you're just writing off those.
It doesn't matter, Mouse, how disgusting it is. This is the options that we have. What?
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to do.
To know, well, Mouse, I want to say this. What is so appealing about an anti-electoral argument? Like, give me one that is appealing that makes it seem like we'll get material change in the country.
Material change. See, I don't know that I've gotten to a point to where I understand strategic action, but it doesn't really seem like you guys do either, because the Dems have been trying their shit forever. How long have they been trying to codify Roe v. Wade?
I mean,
I think
we got, well, first off, wait, Mouse, hold on a second. The civil rights movement, suffragette movement, like all of these, like, you have to say that over the last 100 years, it was liberal-minded people using the political gears of our institution that made that difference, right? Like, you have to say, like, people like Martin Luther King and even the suffragettes use the political system to get voters to the polls to actually get the values and changes that they needed.
They used direct action, didn't they?
They used direct action to get people to the polls. There was a 1 million person march on Washington. right? That Martin Luther King literally marched people to Washington to show the power of the government and the ability to the people to show their force, and they got change, right? Like you got to look at the way our government has been moved has been through voter action.
Yeah.
Like people vote and get things done.
Political action, protests are great, but if the person in charge who's going to be signing bills isn't amenable to your action, then it's pointless. Do you think Donald Trump, if we march, no, stop, hold on. If we march on DC to protest for Gaza and Trump's in office, do you think he's going to be like, wow, you know what? 100,000 people, I'm moved. Or do you think he's going to send the National Guard to tear gas the group? I mean, Democrats might do that too, but I am way more confident that Trump is going to be not amenable to action at all.
Yeah, I think Democrats would do it too. So I don't really know what the discussion is.
So Mouse,
they're doing it now
this is the
to student protesters, right?
This is the discussion. I have a point to you here. If Martin Luther King's message was "Don't vote," do you think we would have gotten the civil rights movement?
If the popular movement was as strong as it was, maybe.
If.
But the thing is, yeah, like Mouse, like you gotta
that led to the vote. It wasn't the vote that led to the popular movement. You know,
this is my frustrating thing with third-party voters and protest voters is it's all like, well, if other people agreed with me, then we could get stuff done. It's like, yeah, no fucking shit. Obviously, if more people were Green Party would have a chance, but that's not the world we live in. We have a two-party system,
not what I just said, though,
and the
is
only options are the Democrats or the Republicans, and one is clearly better than the other. If you care about humanism, if you care about reducing harm, if you care about stopping Christian nationalism, your best chance is voting for Kamala Harris.
I know what you just said, that you need a popular movement to lead to a vote. You said that, right? Is that what you said, Mouse?
I mean, right? It was the vote didn't come before the movement. The movement came and then the vote came, right?
But Mouse, what you're saying though is if your stance of anti-electoralism was the production of that popular movement, then there would have been no vote at all. Right? Because even in your statement that it took the movement before the vote, so even in that statement, it still leads to a vote which produces material change. So therefore that proves my statement. Voting produces material change. When does a non-electoral situation produce material change? And I'll give you one example. How did Occupy Wall Street do with the non-voting stuff?
I think actually they spent all their time in consensus meetings, didn't they?
But they use non-voting as a lot of their core. I know because I was a part of the Occupy movement, and it was a leaderless movement. So inside of that leaderless movement, they didn't believe that people should be voting, right? Because then you're voting for a leader, right? It was Bernie Sanders that galvanized
why they spent all their time in consensus movement.
Yeah, because and how effective was that, right? It wasn't very effective. The only thing that the Occupy Wall Street movement did was create the language of the 99% versus the 1% and created class consciousness about the Wall Street. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Did we lose Mouse?
Oh, I don't know.
Mouse, did we lose you?
Looks like we might have lost Mouse. Are you on the web call?
Oh, no,
you're on your phone. Oh, the call dropped. I just want to also add that none of what I'm saying is that, like, you should, if Kamala Harris gets elected, we then clap the Democrats on for everything they do. Absolutely fucking not. After the election, after you cast your vote for Kamala Harris, don't stop pushing back against her. Spend the next 4 years fighting and protesting and pushing, absolutely. But when it comes down to the election day, plug your nose and fucking cast the ballot.
Yeah, and make sure you call in, folks, and talk to us. And it's like, And we're not trying to be incredibly confrontational about this. We're just trying to let you know, it's like, when you make a claim, and it's just like any other call, right? And I hope that all of you agree with this. If it were any other call, you would be very upset with us if we did not challenge a claim, if it was a God claim, if it was a trans claim. But if somebody makes a claim such as non-electoralism being effective argumentation and being effective, I'm gonna ask how. I'm gonna ask, how does non-electoral systems, and not systems, but non-electoralism and not voting create material change? Like, it's a very simple question. How does it do it? Because as a political scientist myself, I'm very interested to know what non-voting action of not voting in an election is going to produce any type of material change.
Mm. Yeah, it's just frustrating because also, I mean, you were kind of touching on this in the call, Josie, but like, I would have so much more sympathy for third-party voters if they didn't only voice themselves every presidential election, once every 4 years. If they were out there campaigning for, city council seats, if they were out there campaigning for these smaller local seats, actually showing that they can hold office and govern efficiently and effectively, then awesome. Like, you are actually creating a movement. Like you were saying, you're actually showing that you can do it right. Also, the other thing I was going to point out earlier in the call, a chatter had mentioned this, but it had come up a few times last night that like Oregon, a very progressive Democrat state, actually proposed ranked choice voting. So like, Democrats are actually proposing the kinds of systems that could also make third-party voting more viable. Democrats have been very pro access to voting. So I just think
that's happened in DC right now. There's another ballot measure right now to bring in ranked choice voting, right? In DC.
Right.
Like, it's a real thing.
Yeah, I just think we're at a moment in history. And like, I even think I saw like Noam Chomsky, like, who's super fucking far left, has said like, this is not the moment to protest. Like, this is the best thing you can do to push back against fascism and Christian nationalism is cast the vote for the opposition. That has the best chance at getting in.
Yeah.
It's not an endorsement of the system. It's not saying I like the system or I like the Democrats. It's not a love letter to Kamala Harris. It is an acknowledgement of the system that we live in and the best, most effective action we can take to combat Donald Trump.
Yeah. All right. Looks like we got Lee from New York.
Up. Yeah, real quick before we take Lee, I want to read our announcements. Thank you for calling in, Lee. We'll get to you very shortly. I see another call is being screened. So we do have a few open lines still. So if you want to get on this conversation, please do. All right, let's see. So tomorrow night was supposed to be Jimmy Snow on a 'Cause I Wanna, but Jimmy's not feeling well. So we're going to get 4 clips from the previous week's 'Cause I Wannas. So check those out when they come out, hit like and on all those. Saturday is going to be Forrest Valkai and Josie. I will be producing. We're going to be taking political calls there all night. And they don't have to be just trans focused. We can talk about economics and every other important, immigration, abortion, all the other important policies to you on that show. Sunday's early show will be Forrest Valkai and Erika Gibbon. The late show will be Forrest Valkai and Aron Adair. Monday will be Forrest Valkai and Dr. Blitz. Forrest is on 4 shows in a row. That's kind of wild.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. Tuesday will be Eve and Alyssa on Chewed Gum. Matt will be here with a representative from the Secular Student Alliance because we are still doing that fundraiser when we get on the other side of the election. We've got a lot going on, you guys. I'm tired. We're working a lot. And Josie and I will be back here next Thursday for another episode like this. So we will have lots of these conversations. But we've got Lee on the line. So Lee in New York is voting for the Socialist Workers says property, but I think probably means party.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in, Lee.
Right.
Why don't you go for it? Tell us what's going on.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure that I know what I'm doing, and I'm voting a third-party ticket, not Jill Stein. I'm voting for Claudia de la Cruz, and she's the Workers' Party, the Socialist Workers' Party. And I'm a socialist. I belong to the USA Socialist Workers' Party, and I also belong to the USA Communist Party, and which I have belonged to for a long time. And my politics go all the way back to when I served in the Vietnam fiasco, and I was in there for a little bit, and I knew I wasn't going to vote for Johnson again, and Nixon was running, but of course he lied, of course. And I didn't know that he was talking to those people who were fighting to keep the war going so he could get elected. I was duped. And now there's a lot of history. You know, I'm pretty old. I'm 80. And
Yeah.
I've noticed that I've been listening very carefully to Harris talk, and I hear no relief for Palestine. I hear no relief from the war that's been raging over a year, and now they've invaded Lebanon. And I hear no relief for the Ukraine. The Ukraine, we're just going to spend our money until Ukraine is gone. They'll be all killed because Russia will just grind them down eventually.
Well,
they're not producing people to fill the ranks. Yeah.
Ukraine has actually been having some success pushing back, so I don't think that's entirely a fair representation, but go on.
All right, so we don't have to talk about Ukraine. I don't really care.
Yeah, sure.
But I am interested in the Palestinian problem, and it's not their problem. It's is whatever that other country is. And not to hear even an inkling in any of her speeches as to anything about stopping the war. And the latest speech I heard was yesterday, was very upsetting to me, where she came out as though she was about to say something. And she said, oh, it's so tragic over there. I'm paraphrasing. It's so tragic over there and this and that. But we should not forget that the worst day of this war for a year was the first day, October 7th, when the Hamas shot up some Israelis on October 7th.
Okay.
And it was
So
I went, and then I said, wait. And then I said to myself, you know what? I don't care. I am voting for Claudia. I don't care what Harris does. I just don't care. And I don't like the fact she's palling around with Cheney's. The Cheneys are there?
Sure.
What? And she's going to make in her cabinet a seat for a Republican?
Okay,
what?
okay. I get you, Lee.
I'm not.
I feel you.
I understand.
You want to go, Josie? You're jumping on the bit.
Yeah, I do.
I'm going to take some
Firstly, thank you for your service. I don't get to talk to a lot of Vietnam vets these days, so thank you for doing that and going out there. I know that was probably incredibly tough.
Yeah, well,
I'm a Navy veteran myself.
I want to say you're welcome, except that I am so upset still by the 4 years of service that if I could take it back, I would. And if I thought at the time that I was smart enough, which I obviously didn't think so, I would have left this country far behind.
Yeah, and I hear you, and you know I served as well. I consider myself a GP child soldier, is what I say, because I also joined when I was raised in a conservative household. So totally understand what you mean as well. So sorry if I brought up a pain point there. One of the things. Yeah, and so one of the things I just wanted to kind of briefly talk about and is about the future of relief for the Palestinian people. Yes, I believe it is tragic what is going on there, and also I do recall that Harris does talk about a ceasefire and all of that type of stuff, but I will say this about the Harris campaign as somebody who's been, working in the background for a lot of these campaigns as well myself, is Harris has been the presidential, nominee for like 2.5 months, right? Like it's been a very fast put up campaign, right? So a lot of the messaging that is coming out right now is incredibly sloppy, and Harris also is kind of left with a lot of the same advisors that was left over from the Biden campaign. And this isn't an excuse for her, but it's just it's an observation that I have made. right? About the fact that she didn't have, most of these campaigns are operating years before the campaign election year is happening. And they've had the ability to pick their right advisors, get their messaging right, talk about the issues that are going on. But right now, she is basically left with a book of numbers. And these numbers are where Americans stand on different issues, right? And it's not fair and it's not okay on how the oversized emphasis on, the Israeli, voter base versus the Palestinian voter base. And there is a lot of unfortunate messaging that happens because of that, right? So she's making a calculation based on the books and the numbers that she has in front of her, and it's not great, right? And unfortunately, we're in a position in this election cycle where we're like, well, she's not saying it really well right now in the campaign, but when she gets in there, we are hoping that she's going to have a group of people to be able to actually, not stand with Netanyahu. Like, for example, not going to the Netanyahu speech, to me, saying very loudly, right, when everybody around her was saying, you got to go to that, right? Like, that was a big deal to me, right? One of the most disgusting pictures that I think of right now is when Biden embraced Netanyahu, right? Like, I think that's one of the most disgusting pictures that exists in Biden's history, and it will be held in infamy against him, even though his legacy after these 4 years is actually good, but having that embracing photo is nauseous to me, right? So we do have some evidence that Harris does not like Netanyahu and doesn't agree with Netanyahu policies. And what we also know is that Trump uses Palestinian as a pejorative. Arden already said that he wants to help finish the job, possibly even putting American troops on the ground in Israel. And you and I both know what that means, right? And creating that system that will exist, right? And so for me, as somebody who has to look at the tea leaves and have to deal with the consequences of this election, right? Because regardless or not, Lee, would you agree with this statement? And Arden said it earlier in another call. Will Trump or Harris be the president on this next cycle, this next administration? Will it be either a Trump or Harris?
We all know it's a two-party system. I know that. The country was created by those slavers in 1776 to be a two-party system, just a flip of either side. And the Electoral College was a concession to the slave states that it wouldn't get a runaway with local people who had no land ownership or money. I know exactly what's going on in this country. I'm finishing up a book right now. Excuse me, I'm finishing up a book right now by Howard Zinn.
This is not an open mic, okay? We're having a conversation there. You don't just get to tell my co-host to just stop. Josie, go on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Lee. And one of the things that we have to talk about though is in a reality where you have two people. If you had to sit in front of two people, let's say it was you, Lee, right? And you had the opportunity to sit in front of President Harris or President Trump, who would you rather sit in front of to air these grievances to?
I mean, that question doesn't even make sense to me.
Well, I feel like that's so dishonest, though.
But no, so let's say you are chosen, Lee, because of your experience and all of the different things, and you are like chosen to speak on this major issue that you care about, which is the war in Gaza. And you had the opportunity to speak, and in this opportunity, you would either have the opportunity to speak to President Trump or President Harris in the future administration. Which administration would you rather would you talk to?
I don't see the question as relevant.
Why?
Come on, Lee, Lee, don't be dishonest. Answer the question.
That's the organizing. That's the conditions for which we organize.
No, Lee, answer the question. Don't avoid the question.
All you're doing is lead.
Lee, don't avoid the question.
Don't avoid it.
Lee, don't avoid the question.
You're leading.
Lee, don't avoid the question.
Why are you yelling at me?
I'm not yelling at you. I think I'm pretty calm, actually, but don't avoid the question.
Well, you sound like a machine gun.
Oh, I'm so sorry that me asking your repeated question. I'm sorry that me repeating the question that you're avoiding feels like a machine gun to you. But I think that's probably because it's very indicative of how dishonest you're being by avoiding the question. Yeah. You can just answer.
No, that's not being dishonest. You know,
That is
you're
literally being
facetious
intellectually
now.
dishonest,
You're being
Lee. Lee,
facetious.
okay, so
You're
Lee, I'm going to
being-
mute
you're
you
being-
because you don't know how to have a conversation. Intellectual dishonesty is when you see the implications of the question you're about to answer and you don't answer it because you don't want to give in to the clear implications of the answer. That's why you're avoiding it. Everyone watching knows. We do this countless times a week. We talk to tons of people who do the exact same thing for various reasons. Just answer the
Okay,
question,
all right.
and it's very easy.
And I will answer the question. I'm off mute. I'll answer the question.
Okay.
I don't think it would be any different between either one.
Just don't believe you.
You don't think it would be okay? So and then so my follow up is, if you don't think it's going to be any different, then what? So you're saying that Harris is also going to finish the job and send troops
Yes,
into Gaza? So
Yes.
what indication do you have where she's going to send troops into Gaza that are American?
Well, she's already stated in many speeches already and in interviews, she's 100% capitalist, she's 100% Zionist, she's 100% on Israel's side. They're her best friends. She talks just like Joe Biden. I don't see where's the split. I don't see.
So
you see it? If you see it, you can tell me.
I do see the split because I know that she's already sat down with different folks and things like that. But I want to ask you this, Lee. If this wasn't the Gaza situation, let's say that there was no Gaza situation, would you be voting for Harris right now?
Yes.
You would be.
So you're willing to throw away trans rights, queer rights, abortion rights, voting rights, all, like, don't get me wrong, Gaza's awful. It should not be happening, and I am
awful.
disgusted by what's happening. That doesn't mean we have to
Same.
throw away every other issue domestically over this issue.
Yeah, because
I'm
that's
not
why I
using
asked
it-
the question, Lee. That's why I asked you the
That's all
question
right.
of, like, if Gaza wasn't happening, right, you would vote
I
for
answered
Harris.
the question.
Right, you did
Yes.
answer that. I know you did. So my follow-up to that is, what were the issues that made you say, I'm going to vote for Harris?
Oh, I can't stand Trump or the Christian right. I can't stand Christians in general. I don't like anyone who's a Christian. I got people here who live right next door to me. I hate them because they're Christian. Is that what you want to hear? Because it's true.
Okay, that's weird.
Absolutely
Sure.
true.
Sure. So regardless of that, why does the fact that this Gaza situation now outweigh your ability to make a voice in the previous issues that you cared about before the Gaza situation?
Because it's very, very big, and it's not being displayed by the American media, and it's not being, our politicians' feet are not to the fire on it.
And so you're willing to throw
is
away
not
all those
listed.
other people's rights. So you just don't
Yeah.
care about those other
Well-
issues and how that affects people. You don't care if Christian nationalism takes over the country because of this issue.
Yeah.
Okay,
essentially.
so let me answer. Can I answer briefly?
Go for it.
I'll just make it really
Sure.
quick. Okay. When I was in high school back in the 50s and 60s, and the Christians made me sing songs in the halls for Christmas, and I detested them then. And I thought, well, I get out of high school, I get away from these people, and they're back. I probably will just have to tough it out for a couple of more years, and I'm out.
Oh, wow.
I'm out.
So you just have to, so if you
That you just
survive,
leave
who
us.
cares? Yeah, you don't care
Yeah.
because you're going to survive. That's so fucking selfish and privileged. It's actually disgusting. The fact that you call
Yeah,
yourself a
Lee.
socialist is laughable to me. You are
Yeah,
a
I'm a
repugnant
socialist.
person.
Well, listen, you want me to answer honestly? I'm answering honestly.
Yeah, I'm glad you did, because it
I
reveals
get that.
how disgusting people like you are and how unwilling they are to contend with the reality of the situation. So thank you for being
Yeah,
honest
because-
and helping us make our point.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Sure, it's
our
okay.
our lives are immaterial because we have, maybe if we're lucky, four decades left on this planet, right? And so me and Arden, but the decision that you make because you want to make a righteous choice to say, I'm going to virtue signal here, is not going to bring me any material change, Lee. Like
It's not going to bring
nobody goes and
Palestinians change either.
it's
It
not.
does
It's like
nothing.
it's
not
like
a righteous.
nobody's.
Listen,
Is it
it's not a
not
righteous
righteous?
choice. I'm not being righteous. I'm
shut
true to
up.
my
Yes, you
membership to the
are.
party.
You're doing this because
I'm
you are
true to the
trying to
party.
pose as a moral superiority argument. That is why you're doing it.
No, I
True to what
have
party?
no argument. I called you. I have
That's
no
fair.
argument. I called you because I'm voting third party. You asked
Okay.
me. That's it.
I'm done with
I'm
this
not
conversation,
posing
Lee,
anything.
because you don't understand.
Okay.
An argument isn't being angry. An argument is making a claim and you're giving your reasons behind it. You have made arguments on
I
this
did.
call.
I
That's
did.
how
I
logic
did.
and reasoning
did.
works. And you don't understand that. And you're not willing to contend with the impacts of your actions. So, quite frankly, I don't think we should be bothering to talk to you anymore because you're not an honest person. And quite frankly, you're a bad person. So, have
Can
a
you
good
say
day,
goodbye?
Lee.
All right. Bye, Lee.
I just think it's also funny because
Wow.
I'm really mean sometimes. I absolutely go hard on callers. I think I was remarkably calm and even keel throughout that call.
I think.
And so when he's like, "You're yelling at me. You're like a machine gun." I'm like, "Okay, I think you've got
and
some
so
underlying
for me,
problem."
I think it's like you're talking to like somebody from like in their 80s. It's kind of like really hard to kind of like break through in a situation where it's like you have to like, and that's kind of how it goes, right? With a lot of folks, like especially boomers and people in the greatest generation, they're just like they're just like it's like you have to tippy toe and you have to be like, let me give you my opinion now type situation. It's really difficult. And I did think it was completely repugnant of saying, well, I won't have to deal with the consequences, so I'll be gone soon. And it's just like, come on. That's not going to be a good argument. Like, get out of here.
It's
like,
also
like,
I want to point out that like I hate Christianity. I hate Islam. They are terrible religions who enforce awful things on people. I don't hate Christians.
I don't hate the people.
That's bigotry. That is wrong.
Yeah.
Like
that is wrong.
What's wild though is that if you actually hate Christianity and Christian people, but you're unwilling to do the action that will give you the best chance at fighting Christian nationalism. Christianity is on the decline. The religious nuns are one of the largest religious groups in the US. Like this is why we've been saying on this show for years that a lot of this Christian nationalism, far-right authoritarianism stuff feels like the dying death throes of the beast, right? As it's crumbling in its power, it is doing everything it can to secure more power. And the one thing we can do, because this is the best chance at stopping it, is voting for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I know.
But these people, it's so funny to say that he doesn't think he's making a moral superiority argument. That's hilarious to me.
I know, especially since it's the only issue. It's
Yeah.
like I'm going to vote for Harris, but now I'm not going to vote for Harris. So
whatever. My goodness. Okay, so we now should take a look at the poll for this week real quick. Just to talk about that is not right, Arden. There we go. That was the super chat. So let me also close out this poll in chat so I know what the results are. So will Trump's anti-trans and anti-science policies on gender affirming care be motivating for you to vote for Harris in the presidential election? And it looks like
right.
88% said yes and 12% said no. Mm-hmm. That is shocking.
Well, maybe those people are already voting for Harris regardless of what Trump said.
I guess that could be. So people do like to play with the interpretation, and that could be a sincere way of reading the question for sure. I suspect a lot of those people are in a similar situation to Lee. It's so frustrating because like what's happening in Gaza is a genocide, right? I am willing to say that. I think it's awful, and I'm so thoroughly disappointed by the Democrats failing to stand up to Netanyahu. And yet, it is still the best option. Like, no Palestinian is going to know about your virtue signal vote. No Palestinian is going to go, oh, as the bombs, I'm stealing this from Ian, who was on last night. No Palestinian, as the bombs are raining down, are going to go, well, this is the end, but at least Lee voted for Claudia.
See, that's the reality, and that's one of the things. Nobody's going to sit there and say, "Oh, these people that voted against Harris, they're heroes," right? And it's like, "Oh, all these." Nobody's going to go back in the history books and be like, "You know who all those heroes were? The people who voted for Jill Stein in 2024."
Right.
Like it's like no. They're going to be a footnote in history, and you don't want to be a part of that footnote because it's probably going to be a bad one, right? Like that's the reality. And I'm going to say something pretty controversial here. You ready? You ready
Do
for a
it.
controversial take? I
Lay
was
it
thinking
down.
about not doing this, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. I don't ever say this, but I'm going to say it. I believe that the pro-Palestinian movement and the anti-genocide movement has been co-opted by non-Palestinian voices that are privileged, that are affluent, that are white, that can sit in their homes and virtue signal to say, I am for this thing, so look at me do this performative thing, while actual people who are in Palestine are actually suffering. They don't care about the material change of how their protest actually works because it's been co-opted and it's completely perverted what we are fighting for and when we actually fight for no war. Because when I was in freaking the DNC convention back in 2016 as a Bernie delegate, I started the chants "No More War" that interrupted Leon Panetta. I was the one that started screaming "No More War" as Hillary Clinton platformed Leon Panetta, and the entire Bernie delegation across that stadium started chanting with me, and it broke Leon Panetta's train of thought because he was not ready to hear him get disrupted by the words "No More War." That and fighting to get people like that out of the administration is effective politics to get warmongers outside of the system and getting them out of power. But to vote against somebody that actually may listen to the no war protest is what we are fighting for. This isn't the Democrats are going to learn their lesson when they lose this election about the genocide that we are now trying to prevent but yet enable. That is the fucking problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Who do you think Netanyahu wants you to vote for? Jill Stein or Kamala Harris?
Yeah.
Real easy question.
Very good point.
Right?
Because Harris didn't go to his speech. You don't think he feels that? He's a freaking strongman dictator guy. He's fucking upset that Harris didn't give him a hug when he stepped off that tarmac. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's really it. And it makes me so frustrated, right? And again, there's another hot take from Josie here. The people who have the privilege and are able to make money and do all of this type of stuff, why didn't they take a flight to Tel Aviv and protest in solidarity against the other Israelis that are protesting against Netanyahu? Put American foot on the ground, put your body on the line. If you are privileged enough to say, I'm not going to vote for Harris because my family's not going to get deported, I'm privileged enough to not vote for Harris because I don't have trans medication that I have to rely on, I'm not voting for Harris because I don't have to worry about buying a house, then fly to effing Tel Aviv and fight in solidarity against the protesters in Tel Aviv that want Netanyahu removed from power. Do that.
Yeah.
That's something that actually has material change.
Right. Yeah.
And it just drives me bonkers. It drives me bonkers. It drives me effing bonkers.
It does me too. If you want to participate in this poll, go to our community tab or the post tab if you're on mobile. They call it a different thing on mobile. I don't know why. But you can get engaged in the conversation. Yeah, I'm very frustrated, and there's so much on the line. Women's bodily autonomy, trans people's bodily autonomy. Remind you that states that enacted restrictions on trans healthcare for youth had a spike in suicide attempts amongst those youth, and Donald Trump wants to make that a federal law. So if you want trans kids to kill themselves, go ahead, protest your vote. Go ahead, vote for Trump. But it's just disgusting
and
on every single
of the Department
issue.
of Education, removing the Department of Education, like creating an agency that is going to monitor people's health, reproductive health conditions, talking about like removing the ability for government officials to actually know their job and be qualified for it. Like, there's just so effing much.
Yeah.
And to say that this is the only reason that you're not going to vote, I don't believe you. If you are going to sit here and say, I'm not voting because of the Gaza and Israeli conflict, I believe that you would have probably also said, I'm not voting because it's a duopoly. I'm not voting because there's dark money.
Yeah.
I'm not voting because of there's oil.
You're so right.
Like, it's just...
Yes.
Ah!
This is a post hoc
so
rationalization. I think you're completely right. They already were going to vote third party, and this is their justification that they have found. But yeah, this is not an endorsement of the Democrat Party. I don't like a lot of what the Democrat Party does, but I think the Democrat Party does a fuck ton better than Donald Trump and his Agenda 47, which has a lot of fucking overlap with Project 2025. Their Christian nationalist agenda that they will enforce on the American people.
It's frustrating because, like, you know who is a founding member of the DNC's Trans Advisory Committee? This girl right here, because the Democratic Party, the DNC, feels that there is value in having trans people have an entire committee to be able to speak about messaging across this country when it comes to democratic politics. The fact that we're about to have the first trans elected Congress member. Guess what party she is? Democrat. Guess what? Almost every single trans elected official are all Democrat. They're not green. They're not any of those. They are running in a system that allows them the ability to actually win these elections. We have a system that actually empowers trans people to get elected and have electoral power within the Democratic Party process. I don't see Republicans shooting out for this. Like, I don't. They want to eliminate us. They want to remove log cabin Republicans. They want to remove all of the fingerprints that trans people have put in this society, in this community, right? That's the reality. The Democratic Party allows us to exist, not only in the country, in the world, but in their own political process. I know because I'm in it.
Yeah, and so first of all, like and subscribe, super chats $5 or more, hashtag Team Arden and Josie, but that's work stuff. This is so important. I also think it's really important to note that, like, you know, as our Attorney General here in Texas, Ken Paxton, is trying to sue doctors for providing medical care to trans youth, those kind of things are going to go to the Supreme Court. If Donald Trump wins, what are the two old ones that are planning to retire soon? He's going to replace them with young far-right conservative judges and loyalists who will lock in the Supreme Court for decades to come. Generations of our people will be subject to those rulings. If Kamala Harris wins, we have a chance to fix the Supreme Court and at least return it to a neutral point, if nothing else. These issues matter. So many people's lives are on the line, and I find it so reprehensible that people aren't willing to meet the moment.
You want to know something interesting? So the people talk about, Kamala wants to put a Republican in the cabinet. You know what else I know? Kamala also wants to put a trans person in the cabinet. I'm not going to say who because I want to make sure I protect that, but I already know that there's trans people on the short list to go into the cabinet too. So I don't see no freaking Trump appointee going into the freaking government as a trans person. That's a cabinet member, a secretary. So that's another thing that we already know as well. So yeah, it's just yeah. Anyways, let's take another call because I'm losing it.
All right. So this call seems actually really interesting. I'm really excited to take this call. This is from Serena, pronounced she, her in Illinois, and Serena wants to know what a political novice can do about politics at the moment and like where to begin. So Serena, why don't you give it to us in your own words, kind of where you're coming from, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah. Sure, by all means. You can hear me hopefully, right?
Yep, we gotcha.
Awesome. Okay. So my big question, especially now that I'm kind of through a lot of my processes when it comes to various life things, including transition, it's like, so what do I do next, especially when it comes to handling some of these things? I see all of the things that are happening, and especially when it comes to like putting myself out as a trans person and trying to even find some level of comfort in putting myself out. Like, how should I even start putting myself out so that I can hopefully start adding my voice? So it's not even necessarily that I need a platform such as The Line or even Josie's Access or anything like that. It's just, what do I do locally that I can help this?
Yeah, I'll help you with this. So, when I was working as a political consultant and working in campaigns and politics, people would ask me all the time, "How do you do what you do, Josie?" People would ask me that, and I'd be like, "A lot of hard work and getting very shit paid for quite a few years." But no, in reality, the best thing that you can do locally, and it depends on what level you're wanting to get involved. I'm guessing, Serena, you're talking about politics, right? Like you're talking about political action, getting people elected. Is that what you're talking about?
Right at the very beginning, especially when we discussed the fact that you had just said, "Yeah, I get crap pay." It's like I don't have that opportunity to be able to chase that. So
Yeah,
I only have so much time.
yeah, it's
but
hard.
Certainly, I want to do something.
Okay, so are you talking about? So you're not talking about a career in politics. You're just talking about how you can be.
No. I'm talking about I have a job and a part-time job just to live in this economy. So I need to figure out what I can do. Yeah.
Got it. Well, one of the things that you can do is, do a volunteer phone bank. Right now, currently, you can go on Mobilize, I think .us, and you can go on and find volunteer phone banks right now. There's a Trans Folks for Harris phone bank that happens every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern that I lead. That brings in trans people from all over the country and people who love us. And we just make calls for an hour and a half, 2 hours. So it's like really effective. It works. That group of the Out for Harris group has made over 1 million phone calls, nearly 1 million in the last 10 days. So we have done a lot of work doing that, and that is incredibly helpful to be able to support in that way. So there's that. Also, you have in a local level, I would, look at your local electeds that are running for office and just call them up and say, "Hey, do you need volunteers? Do you need me to go walk a neighborhood for you? I have this weekend off. I can give you 4 hours of my time to go knock on some doors." That is probably the most effective things that you can do that gives you actual connection to the community, so you get to talk to your neighbors and see how your neighbors are feeling about certain political issues. But it also could help actual candidates win. When we're talking about local elections, depending on where you live, like you're talking about races that are won by like tens of votes. Like you're talking about people that need like 150 or 230 votes just to win an election, and in a couple weekends you can knock all of those doors, right, and help that candidate actually win that race. And that actually creates material change. And guess what? You get a friend who's in office and you can actually call them up and be like, "Hey, I have a traffic light that's out. Can you help me with that?" So there's like baby steps that you can take that don't require a lot of your time or money to be able to do, but mean all of the difference, because a campaign is always looking for somebody. We just did our round of endorsements for the Advocates for Trans Equality, my organization, and you should have seen how desperate this trans candidate was in South Carolina, needing help to actually get door knockers out, right? Like, has a really great chance of winning this election, very low funded race, but running for South Carolina Senate, D. Elder. She is running and she needs volunteers. And so there's people in Illinois. I don't think we endorse anybody in Illinois in our election cycle, but there are people who are amazing that need support and work and volunteers.
Do you mind taking another question very quickly about this or not? Because
it's
going to be more towards the advice side. But I guess the other half of this is a bit of an anxiety about literally talking with strangers, especially as I've been kind of baking in my own shell for at least a couple of years now at this point, where it's still a matter of, do I feel fully formed well enough to be a human that other humans respect and will listen to and will be willing to engage with, as opposed to not, which, especially when it comes to trans people, treatment in this world, even in a blue state like Illinois, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody is blue. So,
well, Serena, I will say this. We are electing trans people in places like Nashville, Tennessee, Wisconsin, right? We almost won a Alabama State House seat by we lost it by like 700 votes. Even in Minneapolis, Illinois, a black trans woman, Andrea Jenkins, she won her election by like 27 votes. I'm not saying it's easy, but we are winning, right? Danica Rome is a state senator in Virginia, right? And she won her House rep seat when Youngkin was running, right? And so you have a lot of folks. You have a non-binary black person that won a Muslim won a seat in Oklahoma, right?
If I might interrupt really quick, it's not necessarily, I'm glad that those folks have so much self-confidence to get themselves out there. I guess what I'm trying to say is, how do you kind of bottle that self-confidence to try to really like unleash it, if you have a couple seconds at least for advice?
If I can jump in on that, I think, Serena, unfortunately, one of the best ways to overcome that is, unfortunately, exposure. And maybe, you can start small and not knock on doors immediately. Maybe you can attend a organizing event for a candidate you support. I've been at those events. I've been at those events early in transition. And while there were older men there who did misgender me, I will say everyone was overwhelmingly kind and supportive of trans people. And it was definitely a mistake, and they corrected themselves and things like that. I think sometimes those can be good ways to get started, realizing that most people, even people who are bigoted, honestly don't really have hostile feelings to people day to day. Like, most people aren't going to be like, a trans person knocked on my door, get my shotgun. It's kind of like not really exactly how it works. And I think going to those events can get you comfortable and confident talking about the issues and talking to people about the issues, and could start to get you to a place where it would be a little less scary to knock on a door or something. I think but it's going to take, I think, ultimately exposure and you getting, those data points of, oh, people aren't being hostile to me. People aren't, are constantly addressing my gender, for you to feel confident going out and realizing that people aren't going to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Politics is such a contact sport anymore that it just feels so inherently challenging to kind of put a foot into it. So, but thank you.
Yeah,
that really helps.
I gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, go and walk with a candidate, right? Like, just go and say, hey, I want to walk a packet with you. Candidate will probably be very happy, and you don't even have to say a word, right? And the reason I say candidate, because the candidate will do all the talking. But the candidate would go walk with you, and you just sit there and hand the literature and talk with the candidate as you're walking door to door. And then the people will see you, and then you'll realize very quickly that it's not as scary as it seems, right? And the reason I brought up all those other trans candidates are, not only do these people have the confidence to put themselves out there and run for office, yes, that's a very different level and a different bar, but people don't mind enough that they actually win the elections, right? In communities that you think would be more aggressively against trans people, they're still going out there and facing that. And the thing is, if you go out and start with that, then I think with just walking with the candidate just door to door, I think you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. Just baby steps, baby steps. Yeah, yes. Absolutely. Yeah, awesome. Great. Thank you.
Thanks for calling in, Serena. This is important. Yeah, you too. Bye-bye. Okay, so I'm thinking about closing the lines because we have 2 callers currently, and I want to get to them both. I want to give them both a nice... I think both could make for a really good, fruitful conversation. I know you've been waiting longer, Ian, in Scotland, but I kind of want you to wait because your call is a little bit more positive. I kind of want that to be like a capstone for the calls of the day. Yes. And I think we take G next. So apologize for making you wait. Hang on, we will get to you. going to close the lines down. We're going to talk to G, who says, doesn't matter who you vote for, nothing will change. We got the black-pilled G, pronouns he, him, in Virginia. All right, G, give it to us. What's going on?
Hey, good morning or afternoon. Sorry.
Good afternoon.
How you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Doing well.
Quick, I know. I'll be quick. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. By the way, I am voting for Harris. Just if you guys wanted to know.
Okay.
But regardless, it's kind of concerning because pretty much for both candidates, they pretty much have said already on the record on different interviews on the instance of a pretty hard topic, which is Palestine and Israel. Pretty much Israel doing genocide openly. And the only reason why I'm actually voting for her is, but I feel disgusted with myself. And it's because she's probably not going to build some townhouses. They're already doing that anyway, so. But in my opinion, I don't think nothing will change. Either candidates, they're pro-genocide, they clearly have been
So
clear on that.
So you're specifically saying nothing will change on Palestine. You're not saying nothing will change on all the other issues?
Well, the other issues, yes, I get it. If you're talking about the other issues, yes, that will change. That 100% Harris is great, for sure.
I mean, I don't even know if I think she's great, but I think she's a lot better than Donald Trump. I think she is acceptable, even if she's not my personal ideal. So I appreciate you, G, that you're. I don't talk to a lot of people who say there's no point, who are willing to at least vote for Harris. So that to me, that's the biggest thing. Like, you can object to the system, you can be mad at all of it, but at the end of the day, you should plug your nose and vote for Harris. So I appreciate you doing that. I think personally, I just think it's false that they're not different on the issue of the Gazan genocide. Like, Trump, as we've said multiple times on this show, Trump has said he wants them to finish the job. I think, haven't there been quotes from Trump Jr. about like building in some of these settlements?
Oh yeah,
like it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like they want
Trump property
to eliminate the Palestinian people altogether, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Harris is not doing enough. I completely agree, but she is not advocating for them to finish the job on the Palestinian people. Are they doing enough? No. Would I love to see like an arms embargo? Fuck yeah, I would. But I don't think it's realistic that we're going to get that now. But again, this is the difference between, this is the trolley problem again, where you have 10,000 people on the other side and 1,000 people on the left side, and you can pull the lever and turn it to the group with 1,000 people and at least know that while it's still disgusting, any people dying is wrong, at least you saved the other 9,000 people. And that's what I think the situation is we are preventing the worsening of the situation. Because Donald Trump is a good friend to Bibi and will happily endorse him, whereas at least Kamala has, as Josie pointed out, protested, Bibi being in addressing Congress and things like this. So I think she has demonstrated that she is at least far more interested in aligning with the lefter side of the Democrats, although still not leftist. And also, I think it's important to note that we are in an election year, and as Josie pointed out, she's only had 2 months to put together this campaign. For all I know, she has much stronger feelings on this issue, but is terrified to voice it before the election because, how a lot of, unfortunately, Democrat voters are kind of Zionist, middle of the road on that issue, and probably support us supporting Israel. And so I'm sure she's trying not to alienate those people, but I think at least she's demonstrated some sort of resistance to this, whereas Trump just wants to completely enable it.
I get your point, but I mean, even yesterday was a couple of weeks ago, maybe within this week, they wouldn't let a Palestinian, an Arab activist, they just keep him out of the. So they're not even listening, or if they're even pretended to listen, which at the beginning, yes, they were nice and sure, I 100% give you that. Like, she seems to be more open, but at the same time, it's like it's
not enough.
She already said it. Like,
it's not enough. Go ahead,
Gee,
Josie.
can I ask you a question? And I really appreciate you looking at this issue, saying this is the thing that really sucks, and I don't like it, but I'm still going to vote for the other issues that you also care about, which is very informed of you. I'm guessing I'm guessing you have a lot of friends that believe the same way you do, or are they not voting? Or are they voting green?
Oh, they're probably. I think some of them are just voting for Trump. Some of them are voting for Harris. Most of them are voting for Harris. But
Okay.
I try not to engage with this topic easily. I just accept it. I love them regardless of whether they're.
So of course,
Whatever
and
they
I'm
are.
only asking you. I'm asking you that because I want to ask you another question about some of the mentalities of some of the people. Let's say some of the people who are not voting for Harris because of this issue, or voting for Stein. If Harris were to come out with a arms embargo tomorrow, right? Or let's say she has a rally. Yeah, let's say she has a rally tomorrow night. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm just you playing a hypothetical. So if Harris were to come out with an arms embargo tomorrow and says, you know what, we're going to have an arms embargo, I'm going to be more forceful to make sure we end the war on Gaza. Do you think some of those friends that aren't voting for Harris because of this issue will automatically flip over to Harris? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
You do.
100%.
You actually believe that. Okay. Okay.
Well, I have
Which
actually
is
friends who told me like, yeah, I will vote for her if that was the case. Like
okay.
I don't have any doubt they would do.
So okay, which is great. Do you have any friends that also would not vote for her even if she said that?
Yeah, of course. They just prefer
Of course,
Trump over Harris, which is their
sure.
decision.
Sure. So the reason I asked that question, and I'm really happy to hear that you have. It makes sense since you're making the decision to vote in this particular way as well, that this would be the case. The reason I asked that is because of earlier in the call, I talked about how a lot of the Green Party folks would not vote for Harris regardless what her stance was on Gaza, and it would usually be something else if that was the case, right? The Green Party voters would still want more Green Party voters regardless of her stances on Gaza, even if they miraculously changed, right?
Can I intervene?
Are you driving?
Yeah, we can't talk to people
Yeah,
who are.
no worries. I already parked. No worries.
Okay.
No worries.
Oh,
Yes,
you
I'm parked.
parked? You parked?
Okay, it sounded
Okay.
like an indicator signal, so I hope you really are parked.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, we have a strict rule about that.
Okay.
Okay. So the reason I say that is because I know a lot of people, and this is what I was talking about, my frustrations about folks who've kind of like perverted this argument, because I think that there was a lot of people like you, G, and people like your friends who were like, if Harris actually came out for this thing, then I would be voting for her, right? But I now feel like a lot of folks who would have never voted for Harris regardless are now trying to say that to feel morally righteous in doing so. And the reason I bring this up is because Harris is making a calculated decision, right? Because of the fact that she's only had a campaign for 2.5 months, right? And she knows that a lot of the voters who are saying that she needs to fight for this thing, she needs to say these things about Palestine, are liars, and they're not going to vote for her regardless because they want to feel superior by not voting for Harris, because they want to see her lose because she wasn't fast enough moving on this issue. And they have the numbers to prove that in a lot of cases, right? So Harris is kind of and Harris is kind of like made a calculated position, which Arden was saying about the Israeli voters that are saying, no, you got to vote this way. And if you say these things, I'm going to vote for you. I know because I sat next to a lot of them at the DNC convention. Believe me, there was a lot more DNC convention Israeli people than there were any DNC freaking Palestinian people. Were they there? Yes, but they were very few in numbers, which shows that they don't have a lot of organizational power, meaning that the campaign has to make a calculation on a group of folks who have already said to Harris's face that I will never vote for you ever because you were pro this at one point. So she has decided that I'm not going to try to get that vote right now, and I'm going to move on this after I get elected, because the political organizing around the folks that are fighting against the genocide have poisoned the well. And that's what I mean by the perversion of the movement, because people have poisoned the well so badly that they say no matter what Harris does, I am not going to vote for her because she supported genocide at one point, right? And that to me, I think, has become the biggest disservice toward the movement, because it makes me so angry that this genocide is going on. It makes me so angry to know that the current administration embraced Netanyahu, right? And there's nothing I can do about it, because the people who have said that they're putting their feet in the sand and saying, or in the ground, and are not going to move on this issue, will never move on this issue, which completely resigns all of their political power on the issue. So that's kind of like my little soapbox, and I know that probably went a little further than what you were asking in this call, but I just want to say I really appreciate you for being able to say, I care about these other issues, and I'm going to go ahead and vote this way, and I'm going to continue to voice my concern, because that's what organizing is all about, right? That's what organizing is all about. Organizing is being able to put in the people which you would rather argue with on an issue than trying to say to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And that to me is a very mature and appropriate stance. So I know I just talked a lot at you. Do you have anything to say to that?
I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, and it's 100% I agree with you. I see where you're coming from, but also at the same time, it's like there's also, we're not talking about, moving blockades or something that we don't technically see. We do see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a genocide. It's a big word.
Yeah, it is. So
just like,
yeah.
And I don't want to be disrespectful with anybody, just so you guys know, but just like, sometimes with myself, what would I do if I was in the Hitler era? Or what, are we actually just witnessing history itself, and we just choosing not to do anything? But to an extent, it's like, I get where you're coming from. Like, I get it. Like, there's some bad actors, 100%. But also at the same time, it's like, we can't just really say they don't really matter. Because those are people. And
yes, absolutely. So can I throw a scenario at you? And I'm going to put this at you because I think this is the interesting thing. Okay, so let's say you had like the understanding this is what Harris is, and I'm going to put you in Harris's shoes, right? We're going to put you are now the presidential nominee, right? You're exactly where Harris is right now, right? And you have to make a decision of, if I make this stance of I'm going to stand against this thing, which is the morally right thing to do, and you feel like this is the thing you're going to do, but you have information that tells you if you do say that, you're not going to win the election, right? Would you try to win the election and then shift to the right side of the argument, or would you purposefully lose the election because you were on the right side of history? Because that's the scenario that's in Harris' head, right? Because that's what Harris is thinking, right? So Harris is like, I could stand up and say I want an arms embargo, but I will lose the election. Even if she's right or wrong, that's what she thinks, right?
Okay.
Or I stay where I am and I win the election and then move on that issue to make sure we fight for a ceasefire, which I've already said before. Because that's where Harris is in a position when she's looking at the campaign of, if I say the right things for this group of people, I have a really strong likelihood that I will lose this election and not have any political power whatsoever. And she could be wrong. She could be wrong, right? She could be wrong and be like, yeah, if she did stand for this thing, she still wins anyway, and then we're on the right side of history and she won the election in that way. But if she's right and she does that,
Then she
how
made the
is
right
that gonna
decision. Yeah.
right, right. So what do you think about that? What would you do in her position if that's the case? Because that's what her numbers are telling her.
Be honest, I probably do the right thing, but
Yeah.
that's just me. Of course, I'm not her.
But of
I
course
mean,
you're not her, right?
I get
So
where you're
you would
coming from.
lose the
That's a
election.
value. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a valuable point. So what you're making is a good, solid point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, I don't want to take too much of your time, but
I think
short words.
Yeah.
if I could just
This
add
is the
to
resource.
the only thing I want to add on to that is if we were in a political system where it was the Democrats were the right party and we had like a socialist left party, I would agree with you that in that world, sacrificing winning the election to do the right thing is your moral obligation because the alternate party isn't going to result in fascist spin out. I think it's a little bit different in our situation because we literally have far right authoritarian Christian nationalism and the Democrats. And I think the obligation is to oppose that at this time. Anyway, I want you to go forward with what you were saying before I rudely interrupted you.
Oh, no. I said I just don't want to talk too much. Short words, this conflict, pretty much, it's a reason why I'm an atheist, to be honest. So it's just gonna make it short, it's a huge deal to me, but I also, when I watch those type of videos, I'm like, and I don't watch it purposely, actually. And when you get to see, like, I also have family, or like that age, little kids, so I'm like, this is fucking stupid. I'm sorry for the cursing.
You can curse.
But anyways,
all you fucking want on this show.
Thank you.
Yeah, G, and I just want to mention this last point here. You said you would make the decision, right, and you would do the right thing, and I think that really illustrates the point of how difficult the job of president actually is, right? And I don't think a lot of people give enough respect to how difficult of a position a human person goes through of having to make those morally hard decisions in order to just achieve power to do good. And that shows and that's why being a world leader is, especially in the United States, is so incredibly difficult, and especially in America where you have such a radical split of opinions and values and views and different points and understandings and racial identities and all of the different things that happen. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't in every situation you look at. And you have to do, as a political leader, as someone who wants to lead the free world here, needs to be able to say, I'm going to completely anger an entire section of the country that are going to hate me and think I'm a genocidal maniac because I am here to try to defend democracy. And I have to do this right now and be vilified in this way in order to make this change.
Right.
And it's annoying because Kamala didn't put herself into the system, right? She's a black woman that is trying to run this country, and she is put in a system that has completely twisted and turned her into this pretzel that she probably looks in the mirror. And I tell you this, G, and I know because I know a lot of political leaders where you look in the mirror sometimes and you're like, who am I? Because you lose your own identity just to serve the people. Right. And that's why I want somebody like her at the wheel who actually weigh these moral implications versus someone like Trump who looks in the mirror and says, I'm the best person that ever existed. Yeah. I want somebody to look in the mirror and say, I hope I did a good job today because it was a hard day.
Trump would never compromise his desires for the greater good.
That's right.
Excellent.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for calling, G. I appreciate the conversation.
Hey, have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you.
I think it's really interesting that almost all the calls today had to do with Palestine, and it's a conversation we've been having a lot and for good reason, right? I understand why for people on the left it is one of the top issues. And
Absolutely. And I'm an
just,
anti-war person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a no-war person. I'm a veteran. Like, I'm a veteran for peace.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I appreciate callers like G who recognize that it's a very complex scenario, and it's, again, you're not writing a love letter to Kamala Harris. You're not, when you vote for her, you're not saying I endorse every policy she has. You're acknowledging that people don't like the lesser of two evils, but the lesser of two evils is objectively the better world. It is objectively the better option. But I don't think
it's
Kamala
oversimplified.
It is oversimplified.
I think it's oversimplified in that statement, because at the end of the day, it's like, think about, like, and I use this analogy a lot about politicians and like the comparison to doctors or dentists, right? Like, if you're like a surgeon, right, and you're doing an operation on somebody and it's a very tricky operation, there are calls that a surgeon has to make based on experience and understanding when they're going in to save your life or put you in a condition where you can actually fight for your life. Mm-hmm. And they have to make those calls that are incredibly difficult, but you want a surgeon to do it, right? Like, you don't want your lawyer to be like, oh, I can do that operation for you, right? That's not what you want. You don't want your freaking business partner to do it for you, right? You want somebody who's experienced and understands what that is. And that's what a politician is. It's somebody who understands the implications and what you do for a policy that affects thousands, sometimes millions in this case, of people's lives, livelihoods, people's pocketbooks, people's understanding, the environment, the water, the food, every little aspect, where this politician is like going in there and being like, okay, if I fix this road, will the traffic congestion of fixing this road going to create such a large economic impact to my community that they're going to lose their job if I have to shut this road down for 3 weeks? Right? Like, those are the type of conversations that you got to make. And it's something as small as fixing a effing road, right? Yeah. And trying to figure out how to do that. And I want a politician who thinks about that person that has to take a different route to work for that 3 weeks, rather than some business person who's like, oh, I think I can get a cost saving if I keep the road shut longer for 5, right? Like, and it's like a real situation. And Americans, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, I know a lot of us are Americans, and I'm using not all Americans, okay, but a lot of Americans don't look at politicians in that point of view. They don't look at them as stewards and service people that are trying to do good by you and trying to do the best thing for you when you actually pick a good one. Right? Like, and that's the problem, is people don't know how to pick a good one. Just like a lot of people don't know how to pick a bright dentist. Just like a lot of people don't know how to pick a good lawyer. Just like a lot of people don't know how to pick a good financial advisor. Right? It's effing hard when you have a full-time job, trying to live your life, trying to make ends meet. And then all of a sudden you're trying to get thrown into this world where you're like, now pick a good politician so the world doesn't burn. Jeez, that's a big freaking burden on people's back, right? And it's bullshit. And I hate the way the system is designed. But in America, we have to make that decision because we're supposed to be a society that is able to have self-determination of our society. And we're in a lot of trouble right now in a country, because we're having a lot of conversations, and all of these conversations, and the reason I brought this up is we're having a lot of conversations about Palestine, which is what? A foreign policy. You know what is the most difficult political social problems in the world? Foreign fucking policy. Yeah. People live their entire lives fighting for trying to understand foreign policy, right? Just trying to understand it. Right. And the fact that there are Americans out there that don't even know how freaking oil's pulled out of the ground are trying to say, I'm voting as my only issue in foreign policy. Like, get out of your own way. You are standing in the way of progress. If you are making that your determining factor, unless you served in the military, unless you understand how foreign policy works and the implications and all these tiny little nuances around the world, let the experts tell you what should be going on in a lot of ways, because it took their entire lives to figure out what the experts are trying to say. And there are a lot of experts that are against this war and genocide. And guess what they're all saying? Vote for effing Harris because they don't want to freaking deal with Trump.
Right.
So like, just be discerning.
And that's on so many issues.
You're looking at this.
People have given us shit because they don't think Biden Harris are doing enough on the climate, right? And at a Humanists for Harris event that was put together by like Jamie Raskin and Andrew Seidel and a bunch of other like secular people, they had climate scientists on there who are advocating voting for Harris. So it's like the experts are voting one way. It was like 24 Nobel Prize winning economists just came out and endorsed Kamala's economic plan because Trump's is going to inflate our deficit and raise costs of goods. Like, yeah, we really need to listen to the experts.
And start trade wars. We don't talk about that enough. We don't talk about trade wars.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
I
would love to rant. Let's get to this last call. So Ian from Scotland is calling to talk about how Ian is a pacifist, recently changed from socialist to anarchist, and says you have to work with the system that exists to change it. And I completely agree. And I only like to talk to my echo chamber. So Ian, just kidding. Welcome. Let's cap off this show. Tell us your situation. What's going on?
Hi there. Thanks for taking the call. I'll just say first, if the accent's a problem, let me know.
Okay.
I'll try and be
cool. You sound great. I love it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Oh, your phone might have gone to sleep.
Ian?
Ian, lost your audio.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but it's okay. It was.
There you go. There you are.
Yep, that happens. So sorry. I hate that happens, but go on.
Yeah. So over the last few years, I've become disillusioned with the whole system. But the system exists. You can't change the system from outside unless you want to take up arms and go to war and kill people, and that causes more problems. So, yeah, people not voting for the least worst choice is kind of frustrating.
Yeah. I completely agree.
It really is. Yeah, and again, you know, and this is the messaging that I think has been so frustrating with me as, you know, somebody who works in politics, is like, how do people discern the least worst choice? How do people discern what is of, you know, lesser of two evils? And that's where I think the framing is broken, right? And the reality is, what is and I think it would be better served if people would actually not frame it. And I'm not talking to you as a critique, I'm just talking about how a lot of people do this, Ian, because this isn't unique to you, is who's going to serve me better? Right. And I think if people were to frame it that way, I think people would make better decisions, right? Rather than saying, oh, I guess I'm just going to have to pick one dog shit versus the other dog shit. Like, you know, and that's how people look at it, rather than actually saying, who's going to serve me better, right? Like, if you had two restaurants that you had to pick from, right? It's like, well, which one has at least a little better food, right? Like, you know, you wouldn't say, which poisonous place am I going to eat now, right? It's like, it's one of those things where I think if people were to frame their choices in politics in a way like that isn't so negative, I think it would be better. But again, we're living in a very polarized society. But anyways, what are your response to that?
Yeah, I agree. It's like, make the choice of who's most likely to take things in a direction that you want. Who isn't going to harm you or the people you love.
Yeah.
The way that I think people should look at it is people like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Like, when they tell you who they are, believe them. He said, I want to be a dictator. Believe him.
Yeah.
When he runs properties, he wouldn't take on black tenants. Believe that. He just told you he's a racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he recently was, I mean, it's reported, but I think this comes from his former chief of staff that he also had said.
He said it. I heard it.
That he wants generals, like Hitler's generals. Like, he literally wants to be a fascist leader. It is so, I mean, I will say the one thing that's hard about the, you know, voting for what's best of you is that the far right media ecosystem has been very, very efficient at spreading misinformation and like Russian propaganda that has seeped into the brains of, you know, people in Cult 45. It's frustrating. I mean, when you talk to them, you know, they'll repeat whatever Trump said about policies. It's really disappointing. But I will say we've made a lot of progress on this channel. We've talked to a few Trump supporters who have actually moderated their position on some of these political shows. I know there was one caller who called in saying he was voting for Trump because of immigration. By the end of the call, I don't know if he said he was going to vote for Trump or if he was going to vote for Harris, but I think he had said that he was convinced not to vote for Trump, at least because he realized all the things he thought he knew about immigration were completely fucking wrong. It's, I mean, I understand wanting the system you want. And I think this may be also the effect of like the TikTok generation of, you know, all getting that dopamine hit when you want it. But I mean, political change is always slow. Like, imagine if the trans activists back in the 70s and 60s who were, you know, starting in the gay liberation front, if they said, well, I don't want any progress until it's the perfect progress, we wouldn't be here. Trans people wouldn't have the rights we have. We wouldn't have, you know, informed consent clinics. We wouldn't have access to half the treatments that we have available. But people were willing to take incremental steps, the small steps, and that has got us here. And would I like to be at the utopia on the hill? Absolutely. But that is not how reality works. And just like you said, Ian, you know, short of violent revolution, where I'll remind you, queer people are going to be, we're not going to do well in that situation. You have to work with the system. And right now, the system is a two-party system, shitty as it may be. And the best option is obviously Kamala Harris. And that is why we have been so goddamn annoying on this network. Doing electoralism really for the last month.
I wouldn't say annoying, I would say educational.
Thank you.
Yes, educational. That. Yeah, and you know, because you know, and that's why I appreciate, you know, the Line Network, is because we are standing up. We are standing up for what matters, because we have an entire show called the Transatlantic Holland Show, right? That serves and talks to trans people, you know, across the globe. And if the material change for us not having a Harris administration is so scary, because the fact is, like, as a veteran, I could lose my health care, like, just flatly, like, that's it. I would lose my ability to receive my hormone care through my veteran services. Like, all of that will just disappear overnight, right? And that's like a material change in my life. I have Hispanic and Latino family members that could possibly be deported because they may be unlawfully targeted, even though they're legal citizens, right? Like, because they're already talking about that. They're going to be indiscriminate. They've already said they are. So, like, you know, the reality is, like, we have to stand up for our community that watches this show. We have to stand up for the hosts that host this show, and the Line Network as a whole, the producers and all of these folks, because as skeptics, as atheists, we also are also targeted in a very deep systemic way when it comes to Christian nationalism. Not being able just to have a belief set, to be free thinkers and being skeptics. Like, they want to outlaw fact checking. They want to remove the licenses from independent journal media systems. Like, there is so many little things that we would see that we need to protect against, because it's our livelihoods and we need to fight back. And you know, and you said you're a socialist. I'm a socialist too, right? And you know, and
I used to be a socialist.
and
was
an
anarchist.
I prefer if there was no governments, but that That's the dream.
Okay. That's the dream in a very. So I'm still a socialist, and I do a lot of work for the Harris campaign. And I was telling one of my contacts, I was like, "Yeah, I'm a socialist," and they're like, "You just are the social." I'm like, "No, I'm an American socialist, right?" And what that means to me, and I know you're in Scotland, but what that meant to me is like Medicare. Right, that means Social Security. That means access to veteran services and care, all having
Rights
freeways
to
and things
organize at
paid
work.
for, right, to
Yeah.
organize at work. All of those things are really, really important to me, and that's why I always say I'm an American socialist to differentiate that the fact that all of us are, in a sense, not you as yourself, Ian, but like a lot of Americans are American socialists and don't even know it, right?
True.
Because the
So fucking
branding,
true.
right? Or they have no idea. It's like people who are surviving off of Medicare and Social Security right now are saying screw socialism, and they literally live every day from that socialist system. That is what I call American socialism. And so like there's so much out there, and I think what you said, about it being educational, that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to educate people
Well,
because
there's a
we know
reason that they want to ban books and take over the education system, isn't it? They don't want people thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
That's right. Yeah, and so the average American, because I don't know the world statistics, so I know the American ones. The average American only sees 4 minutes of political content every week. That's it. And that's why the American political cycle is 2 years long. That's why American presidents announce 2 years, 3 years before the election, because they know that to get their message through, they only got 4 minutes a week with every American in this country. And it's disgustingly sad because it's so easy to misinform somebody because all somebody has to watch is a 5-minute YouTube video, and that's their political content for the week. And that is it. So if we're able to be that 5 minutes of political content, by God, we're going to be it. If we can in this critical time that we're in. And so yeah, so I appreciate you, Anne, for calling in and talking about the fact that we have to work within the systems that exist to get to the world that we want to get to, regardless of what that world is. But it takes a moment to get there.
Yeah. I mean, as an international caller, I hope Americans don't mind me calling in. Unfortunately, America's the only superpower in the world. So yeah, America's the only superpower in the world, so it kind of impacts us all a little down the line. As someone like Trump gets in.
Yeah, I mean, I have been a little averse to taking international calls on this because most of them are like we had fucking. Actually, I don't even want to say the name because he's gonna love the being acknowledged on the line. A caller call in from Canada who wanted to advocate for Trump a few shows ago, and I'm like, that's stupid. But what you're saying is absolutely accurate. The U.S. is a global superpower. We are one of the wealthiest nations in the world, and like we could do so much to help the globe with that power and that wealth, but not with Donald Trump in office. And
right.
While Kamala Harris is, again, not going to do enough for me, and probably not enough for Ian, not enough for Josie, she will do more than Donald Trump, and she will do more than many of her predecessors. And hopefully, we could set up for a Tim Walz presidency in 2032.
Or 2032. 32.
Yeah.
32. Yeah.
And that would
if I was in America, I would vote for Harris, but only because Waltz is VP.
Yeah.
He's a human being.
I love him. I love when he called JD Vance a dipshit, or Elon Musk a dipshit. I'm like, that was amazing. I love you.
That was so good. Well, Ian, if you know any Democrats or Americans abroad in Scotland, you can always get them to vote for you, and therefore you can, be like, talk to somebody who maybe not voting that's out there, because Americans abroad do vote. So if you know any Americans,
pretty much all the Americans I know are not necessarily happy, but they're on board with Harris.
Okay, yeah. Good. See, you did your part, Ian. Don't sell yourself short. Talking to those Americans in Scotland, make sure they're getting their asses out there and voting.
Well, thank you so much for calling, Ian. If there's anything else you want to add, please do. Also, maybe your audio dropped or something because it sounded like you couldn't hear anything.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm still here. The
Okay.
screen did go to sleep again.
Yeah, if you want to give
A
any
reminder
like
to everybody,
last
when you phone
thoughts.
in, keep your screen awake.
Yes,
keep your screen awake.
Yeah,
yes,
I know. The web
yes.
caller is so frustrating. I hate that it does that. Wish they would. I think it would be like I know a lot of cooking websites have like a button that keeps your phone on while you even if it's past the time that it would normally go to sleep. So you can do your recipe. And I feel like they could just add something like that to this. But maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe people in coding in the audience will be like, you're so stupid. That's not how it works. Whatever. Any last thoughts, Ian? I appreciate you calling very much.
No, just thanks again for taking my call, having a great show. As someone who's not come out as Aero Ace to their family yet, it's nice to have a little safe space.
Well, I'm so
Yay,
glad we
you're
can
always
provide that
safe.
for you. Thank you so much, Ian. And I appreciate your call and I wish you the best. Have a nice day.
Thanks, you too.
Alrighty, that concludes the caller portion of the show. Hold on, I gotta do banner this, banner that. Trying to wrap up this whole system to save money. Sometimes
is that
I forget.
what it is?
Sometimes I forget while we're doing super chats to close it right away. And while it's like only 4 cents a minute with no one on the line, that adds up. And so I want to make sure I'm on top of that. Okay. We're good. Let's go on to super chats. So super chats of $5 or more, we will read them live. If you include hashtag Team Arden or hashtag Team Josie, one of us will have to defend a silly, ridiculous position. Oh, which also, Josie, can you vamp for a second while I get a poll for which position in the chat?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. We gotta do that. No, I just want everybody to understand and try to help people understand better about it's not about lesser of two evils, because that framing is broken and it makes people discouraged and it depresses people to vote. I always say vote for the person that better serves you. Vote for the person that's going to most likely listen to you, and that I think will make it better, because it's like you gotta do the due diligence and try not to be that person that's like, I'm only going to vote for this one thing only. It's like there's more to it than that. Like, you're voting for a president. Like, it's like, get out of here. Like, it's more than just one thing. Now, so that's what motivates you, then fine. But really, it does yourself a disservice and your fellow citizens a disservice. You're voting for a package.
Absolutely. I am nervous, hopeful, but not delusionally so, because it's unfortunately an extremely close race. But we have super chats to get to. Thank you guys so much for sending your super chats. Also, remember the comment thing I was talking about. The line, every other show in the line has passed 1,000 comments on at least one of their shows throughout this year, but Takis hasn't. Get invested in the comment section. Pick a fight with somebody. I know. I thought on the one where we had that fight about like periods or whatever, that people were gonna go crazy on it.
Yeah,
not enough. So get mad at us. Whatever you got to do. I mean, I'll take it.
No matter how wrong Arden is.
Alrighty. You want to go first?
Sure. 20 pounds from Jackie Greenland. Hello from 35K feet. Oh my gosh, you're such an adventurer, Jackie. Spending the next 11 days in rural southeast Arizona, stargazing, and fly out the day before the election. Not gonna lie, makes me a little nervous, but we'll make it work, hoping for the right results. Gotta go at Team Arden, or hashtag Team Arden.
Let me get that.
Jackie, you are all over the place. Like, you're like partying in Germany. You're like now you flying around in rural southeast Arizona. Like, wow.
Sorry, I'm trying to get this thing to move. It's not covering Josie's face. I gotta like save this file like this. Hold on. I'm sorry. I am such a mess. The new things we've added to Takis are really fun, but it's a lot more work on the production side. And so producing and hosting and doing this is like It's a fucking task. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We have $10 Canadian from Quantum Chaos. Not in a position to call, but just wanted to thank everyone at the line as a cis parent of a trans kid for everything you do. Also, I heard Jimmy Snow may have a podcast, which is wild. I heard that too. You'll have to go to his channel to check because I'm not entirely sure, but I think that might be the case.
Wait, Jimmy has a podcast?
Yeah, that's what people are saying these days. Thank you.
$5 from Alice Rosas. I thankfully found a polling spot with no wait, so just got home. I can't say I liked voting this year, but I had to add one more to fuck Ted Cruz box. People don't know, Alice.
Yeah.
Like that is the real revolution, political revolution. If we can oust Ted Cruz, that is what gives me like hope. If I could wake up and see Texas turn Ted Cruz's ass out of the Senate, like all of it is worth it. All of it is worth it.
Yeah, people were giving Allred a little bit of a hard time for the debate, and honestly, I think he was prepped with all the right words, and I think he just stumbled when he was saying like, "I don't want men in women's sports." I think what he was probably prepped to frame that in a way of trans women as women, but he did not communicate that at all because he did good on being like, "That's not what this bill does. It protects people from discrimination." Meanwhile, your policies add increased death rates for women and infants. Like, I think he got the right prep, but it just is not. He's not clued into trans stuff and did not do a good job communicating it. But the rest of the debate I thought was good.
And that's the thing. It's like you can tell which candidates have trans people in the room when it comes to like cultural competency and don't. Like Sherrod Brown also did the same thing, trying to just accept the premise that men are in women's sports when it's trans women and trans girls in sports, which is a completely different thing. When you tell a voter that it's not, we don't believe in it. Like, for example, it's like, if I were to say, of course, I don't believe men should be in women's sports either, but trans women and trans girls deserve the opportunity to play in those sports. Like, then all of a sudden the voter's like, oh, wait, because then now you're making them anti-trans and you're not just following a bullshit premise of just man and woman, which isn't what you want to be talking about. Right?
Yep. But also Colred's website, he's got good policies on trans people. He's gonna definitely defend trans people, and I love his recent tagline of "Make Ted Cruz a full-time podcaster."
Yes, I love it too. And honestly, like Allred isn't going to be the most progressive person, but like it's Texas, and that moving that state blue just a little bit gives a lot of hope to the voters, and maybe they can actually change their governor later. Maybe they can actually, be blue in an electoral college, because if once we turn Texas blue, then none of this electoral college bullshit matters anymore. We'll just win.
Fantasize. $5 from Monkey a Typewriter regarding a response to Trump saying kids are transed in schools. These fuckers know schools are underfunded. They defunded them. You think they're having surgery funding? Yeah, Trump is responding to the notion that teachers aren't compelled to inform students that a kid is identifying as trans at school in California. But all that is a kid's coming to school and using different pronouns because they're trans, and they have an abusive fucking parent at home. And they're saying to these teachers, if the student doesn't want to be outed to their parents because their parents suck and it would harm them to do that, you aren't compelled to do it.
Right.
And Trump's framing that as they're getting surgeries at schools, which is just so stupid. And I wish somebody would call, I don't know. It's frustrating. People never get it right, but it is what it is.
Yeah. It's just misinformation. Doesn't care. He just says what comes to his brain. Yep. £5 from Mystic Minds and Alice's Tavern. Just an FYI, the UK's first past the post voting system makes us effectively a two-party system, and Labour didn't hesitate to backstab trans people. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is really terrible. I don't know what to do about the situation in the UK. Hopefully the US turning a little more progressive on trans rights can influence that positively, but I'm not hopeful.
Yeah, exactly. We're fighting for our own lives over here. It's unfortunate. We need to do better. Oh, go ahead.
I think it's
you
me.
or is it me?
$4.99 from Carla J. In solidarity, hashtag Team Arden. Thank you, Carla.
Where's all the hashtag Team Josies? Don't
I
forget.
know. They're behind. Go for it. Read this one.
Ah! Oh my gosh. $5 from Larry Fishman. More mean Arden, please. Hashtag Team Arden. I see you, chat. Why do you hate me?
I think I was really chill all day today, and I think that guy just has never had a woman like talk to him, like do anything other than just accept his bullshit that he spews, and so it feels like an attack to him.
Yeah. $5 from Charlotte. Love you both, Josie. I'm so glad you have that fire back in you. Love, keep up on fighting because there's a lot to be fighting for. Thank you, Charlotte. But where's the hashtag Team Josie?
I know. She let you down. Thank you,
But I love you.
Charlotte. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Both parties want power. They made different strategic decisions. Dems want to ally with trans folks. Republicans want to ally with bigots. Hashtag Team Caballero. Is that for?
Yes, that's me.
Caballero. For some reason, my mind, I thought that was like a Ruben Gallego thing.
Oh gosh.
No. Yeah, I don't know if I say Dems ally with trans people, but they at least don't make it harder for us to exist. They've allied with us on a few occasions.
Yeah. $5 from Melatonin Al. Arden and Josie, double trouble for bigoted transphobic maggots. Love to see it. This is a tough one. I'm so sorry, Arden. Hashtag Team Josie. Doesn't have to be that hard.
Josie
I'm
needs
sure
the
that
votes,
felt good.
so I'm just so far ahead, so it's okay. $4.99 from Sarah Wilson. Serena
didn't even put that point on the board. I see you.
I did. That was your first vote, right?
Was that no, it's my second one. Dang, you see this, chat? Punish Arden for trying to cheat the vote.
I'm going back through. You haven't gotten a vote yet.
The vote. Oh, I totally got the vote.
No, I'll go through.
Yes.
This one, no vote for Josie.
Uh-huh.
No vote for Josie.
I know that. You don't have to say it every time.
See? Going through all the ones we've already read. Oh.
I should get a double point if you're wrong.
See? And that was me. Page changed. And then we had this one from Charlotte. And then we had this one from Monkey at Typewriter. Oh.
Wait, there was another one though.
No. You actually are right. It was the one before the one we were on that had your vote.
See? You see this, chat?
Fine, I'll give you a double point. I'm not afraid of losing.
Hand recount.
Recount the
solve
vote.
the voter fraud.
I'll give you 2 points.
Existing.
I'm not afraid. The audience is gonna make me win because I'm the best, so it's fine. $4.99 from Sarah Wilson. Serena, I recommend Jamie Dodger's book, The T in LGBT. Haven't read it yet, but it's by a trans man for trans people about what trans is and how to transition.
Oh.
Well, I guess that could be for like the confidence on
Yeah.
being trans in public and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
$5
from Charlotte. I understand G's emotional response. I felt similarly. What helped me has been to depersonalize it when it comes to my vote. It's just the next right move. That is a very, very good point. Voting doesn't have to be a moral thing. Voting can just be the political strategy for which we organize. Don't tie yourself so deeply to it. Just know that you're just doing your civic duty, just like you're paying your taxes, right?
Yep.
You don't get emotionally invested when you do your taxes. And if you do, you're probably one of those taxes stealing my money person. But like, you really should just think about it like that, like you're brushing your teeth. Don't be morally invested to it.
Yeah, I've called it like a chess move. Like, there's an objective best chess move from any given point. Even if it's not the move you want, even if it puts you in still a difficult situation, it could be
even
the
if
best
it's a
move.
Sacrifice. Yeah, you could sacrifice a piece, right?
Yep.
Like, that's not great.
$4.99 from Louise Richardson. I don't know why, but I was in an alternate stream earlier as Nardfluk. I was hashtag Team Arden then, and I could be hashtag Team Josie just as easily, though. I don't know if this counts for anything.
It doesn't. But I don't know why I was in alternate stream earlier. Oh, interesting.
You have a stock account, Louise?
Sock account Louise. We found it.
Thanks.
$5 from Alishana Silverbow. Why shouldn't an angry witch take a broom trick or treating? She might fly off the handle. Love it. Watching you a happy Spooktober. Wishing you a happy Spooktober. Hashtag Team Arden.
Thank you so much, Alishana.
That's actually a vote. That's actually a vote. Okay,
yes, I got that one. $10 from Clever Name 2. Oh, are we doing Halloween puns today? Better than poop ones, I guess. Oh my god, yeah. What's a scarecrow's favorite treat? Candy corn. Nice. Yeah, Josie wasn't there for... So listen, I don't mind. I will do a poop joke every now and then with Matt. Like, if Matt's, like, feeling sick, I'll be like, ooh, hot. Like, just as a joke, to be, like, disgusting, right? But the poop jokes we were getting on Chewed Gum the other night from Jamnik06, I'm watching you, were awful. They were so gross. It was disgusting. It was just wrong.
Getting that money's worth, Jamnik.
Here's Jamnik. Are we gonna get one?
Oh God, here we go. $5 from Jamnik06. Why did the ghost go to the bar for the booze? Hashtag Spooktober jokes. Hashtag Alishana started this. Hashtag not a poop joke. Hashtag Team Arden.
I'm proud of you, Jamnik, for resisting the urge to poop joke.
Yeah, Halloween puns are cuties.
$5 from Jamnik06. Why did demons and ghouls hang out together? Because demons are a ghoul's best friend. Also not a poop joke. Hashtag Team Heart. See, I could give you double points. It's fine. I'm gonna win because I'm awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Are we gonna get hashtag not a poop joke at every chat now?
You hear this chat? You gotta do what's right, all right?
Team Martin's gonna come through.
Moral choice. This vote is a moral one, so
the election isn't, but this is.
This is $5 from Clever Name 2. Why did the vampire subscribe to the newspaper? He heard he had great circulation. Go on.
Nice. No vote in that one. Then we have $5 from Alishana Silverbow again. Why is the cemetery the best place to write a story? Because it has so many plots. Hashtag Spooktober, hashtag Team Arden, hashtag vote Kamala. Hell yes. Also, I did pin Colossia's chat to the top of the chat, which has a link to transformthevote.org and vote.org.
Oh, yay.
So check your registration. Some states let you register up to the day of the election, and it can tell you where your polling place is and all that good stuff. Sorry, go ahead, Josie.
Fun fact, Transform the Vote is vote.org. It's the same tool.
Yeah. It just has extra stuff for trans people on it, right? Is this one of those
and it has everything. It has everything. We actually pay vote.org to have their tool integrated into our system.
Is that one of those things too where it tracks like how many people registered through your personal thing, so you can see like how that I like that, because at least I kind of wish we had something like that for the line, because we've been doing so much like please register to vote begging that I would love to see how many people we actually convinced to register to vote. But you know, as a lot of activism is, you often don't get to see the fruits of your labor.
That's right. $1,200 a month. That's what we have to pay to
oh my god.
I know.
We cannot afford that.
If you want one for Transform the Vote, I can give you a special link, and then you can at least track it, and we can partner that way. Yeah, I'm down. We can make that happen. A Tachys one or a line one.
Yeah,
it's not hard. We can do it. We give that tool for free to our partners, so you would have a Transform the Vote link / the line.
Oh my god, the connections.
I know. Yeah, easily done.
Sweating, girl. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, me too. It's like really hot autumn days. It's really weird.
Yeah.
$5 from Jimnik06. What do you call the enlightened werewolf? And a werewolf. Woke joke. No more poop jokes from Jimnik06. Hashtag Team Mother of Danger Noodles.
Hell yes. My noodles are not dangerous.
Danger Noodles?
Yeah.
I literally have noodles next to me right now.
They're not
dangerous.
Danger noodles.
They're just spaghetti.
Danger noodles aren't dangerous either most of the time.
Danger noodles are your snakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
The danger
Also called a nope
noodles.
rope.
Oh wow!
Whoa, wow.
big super chat.
$99 from Gecko36. Thank you both for your time, knowledge, and mental health and trying to better educate humanity. Such important work you're doing. Y'all are making a real difference. Hashtag Team Line Hosts. We appreciate that.
Thank
It is
you.
a neutral vote, but
it is. No, but we appreciate the big donation, and we really appreciate it. It makes us feel good because we do put a lot of our mental health and stress and anxiety on the line.
Yeah,
on the line.
I used to have a lot of anxiety before shows. No, I don't really get that anymore, but for a long time, I had a lot of anxiety going into shows. I think it's just because, like, I don't know, it's triggering in some sense to be like defending your existence to people, right? But I think at this point, I've kind of learned how to also depersonalize that and just kind of be like, you know, for a lot of people, this is their first time encountering a lot of these ideas and these arguments, and it can really affect some positive change. So I will keep screaming about it. And also, it's like a nice opportunity to get a little rage out when someone starts being a dipshit, and I'm like, oh, you are my therapy for the week, buddy. Buckle up.
So true, though. DKK, or no, 20 DKK. I don't know. Is that Donkey Kong credits?
I don't know. Danish, maybe?
Danish monies? Sorry. From
Denmark?
Body... Probably Denmark. From Body H Bit. Hi Bit. Love the show. Keep it up. Vote blue. Hashtag Team Arden.
Is a Danish krone. Thank you for the vote.
Danish krones.
I like. Also, I just realized I put that through, but I don't think it actually was equivalent to $5. But hey, you got to sneak one in. So good job.
Yeah.
Brody Bit.
Everybody, stop the real steal.
I'll take that vote off if you want. I don't care.
No,
look at the lead. I'm smashing. I don't need the help.
I think Team Josie's gonna rally at the end. It's all right. 10 euros from Selgi or C.
I think it's pronounced Sale. They've commented before and they've told us, yeah.
Sale. All right, I'll try to remember that. Okay. In 2012, Siberia wanted to punish the Democratic Party by not voting. They are still paying the price of a bad decision. Don't waste your vote. Vote Kamala. Love and kisses from the EU. Thank you. And thank you for showing real world consequences.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sale. We appreciate it. Also, tell me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. All right, we got $20 from Mr. Boricua 10. Finally able to chat. Long day. Thanks for a good show. But that one dude, where at Lee, good grief. Was he getting my red up? Despite my issues with the VP, I made a choice to protect crowds with which I fuck. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lee is just, I don't know. Part of me wonders if he's not serious, because I do think I have had a lot of people commenting on like my personal stuff that I do advocacy on, like, or that I post about politics on, being like, I was a Democrat for 20 years, but since the Democrats stopped caring about the nuclear family, I'm voting Trump now. And I'm like, nobody believes you were ever a Democrat if you're talking about the nuclear family. You literally sound like a Nazi.
Yeah.
So a lot of times with people like Lee, I'm wondering how sincere they are. Like if you actually don't care about any of these other issues. But I mean, I'm going to take him at his word, assume he's serious in the conversation. But I definitely personally have my doubts.
Yeah. $5 from Jimnico6. What did the ghost say to the toilet? You appeared a bit flushed. Hashtag don't drink the Kool-Aid, and still not a poop joke. Hashtag Team Josie. Let's go. Thank you, Jimny.
There we go. Closing the gap a little, you know?
Uh-huh. Hear this confidence, everybody? Like, let's squash it. Wouldn't it be so good to just squash that confidence? Let's just do it.
You can try. I welcome the challenge. $5 from Mr. Boricua 10. No phonetics today. Also, hashtag Team Steckbomb. Thank you. What up? All right.
$5 from Jimnick06. What did the werewolf say when he broke his toe? Ow. Hashtag sorry about the poop joke on Tuesday. Hashtag Team Josie. Hashtag flip flopper. Yes.
It's all right, Jimnick. I will forgive you one of these days. When I've had enough space to heal
One of these days. One of these
from how
days.
vile those jokes were. It was bad, but
I'm
it
gonna
was a
have
little
to
bit
go
funny.
back and watch these.
It was one of those things
Oh
where
my
it's so
God.
bad that it actually becomes funny again, just because it's like, wow, you were really committing to the bit. $5 from Melatonin Ale. I know a few naturalized citizens that are MAGA. So frustrating. Neutralizing my own vote. Hashtag Team Snack Mom. Hashtag Momala. Hashtag All Red. Yeah. Like I said, the caller who we talked to who realized he was wrong on immigration was going to vote for Trump was an immigrant himself. And, I mean, we're all subject to propaganda. So it's frustrating, but,
Yeah,
One's for
$5
you.
from Zurich Moonpaw. Hashtag Team Josie because Arden is a meanie butt. I agree.
That's true. My
Couldn't
butt
agree
is so
more.
mean. $10 from Jasmine Bryant. Arden cheated. Hashtag Team Josie. Still love you though, Arden. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Hope that ego's ready to get bruised.
Oh no.
$5 from Empress Lizard. Hashtag Team Josie. Just cuz. Let's go. You see this?
All right, you're making
It's
a
not
recovery, but
so
I know
loud
Team
anymore.
Arden. I know
Not
Team
so loud anymore.
Team Arden is gonna come through. They're gonna give me another 2 or 3 votes before it wraps up, and then I'm gonna win. That's how it's gonna go. I'm very, very confident. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Okay, Dems aren't trans allies, but they will form a coalition, which we'll have to do for now. Hashtag Stop the Steal. Hashtag Team Josie. Hashtag Josie won't be cheated. Yeah,
That's right.
I mean, it's probably fair to say that Dems are allies to trans people. I mean,
Yeah,
I wish
it
they
is.
would go harder.
I've seen it.
I like Kamala's Fox interview. I thought she did a really good job, actually. I know Josie said that she tried to do a follow-up tweet to kind of do the same thing, and they did not do as good of a job.
Landed like a lead balloon.
Wow. But I thought her Fox interview, like for a politician like Kamala, I thought that was about as good as we could get. Like she was saying, she's going to defend the right, even for prisoners, to access care that is on a medical necessity basis, including gender affirming care. She didn't phrase it like that, but that was what she said, and she was responding specifically to a question about trans people. So I think it's okay to derive that meaning from it. Team Arden, I need you to get your votes in, please. Stop the count.
No, Team Josie.
Hashtag stop the count. Let's get some hashtag stop the counts in chat.
Look at this ego. Look at this ego deflate. Look at it. It's
my
so
ego
good.
is, you can't deflate my ego, but I would like to see some hashtag stop the counts, please, in chat before we allow this rigged election to be subverted.
Says the rigger of the election, the person who literally has the fingers on the buttons. $5 from Zurich Moonpaw. Hashtag Team Josie. Because I don't know, because I did not know I wanna. Love you both. Being awesome. Always remember to touch your noodles.
Thanks, Zurith. We appreciate you. Zurith Moonpaw, hashtag Team Josie.
Let's go.
This is rigged. We have people donating 5 after 5 with 1 vote, whereas we have $10 that are only 1 vote. It's rigged. What is this rigged election we have going on here?
Now here comes the excuses, everybody. Here it comes.
Listen, the voting machines, they had people's votes and they were changing the votes.
Massive dumps.
There was
one result.
They were stuffing the super chats. Uh, oh wait, okay. There we go.
$5 from Charlotte. Legacy vote because hashtag Team Josie because I did the U.S. Trans survey before I found this show.
Aww.
There we go. Thank you, Charlotte. I love you. Thank you for taking the survey.
See, I'm willing for my team to slack off for a second and let Josie think she has the lead to commend her on the U.S. Trans survey because it's actually a really good thing. $5 from Alice Roses. Team Josie. Hashtag Team Josie. Hashtag I demand a recount. Oh, Josie, and you want a recount? You're right. I did give Josie an extra point, so really, she should only have a 1 point lead on me right now. If we're being honest.
$5 from Charlotte. Hashtag Team Josie because I did the U.S. Trans survey before I found the show.
Oh, she said that twice.
Double fives said that twice. Thank you for your double accidental.
Stop the count. This is so fucking rigged. I can't believe this.
Okay, Charlotte didn't vote a couple times and mentioned me before, so it's okay.
This is some bullshit. $9.99 from Zeppy89. Thank you for all your work. Love you both, but hashtag Team Arden. See, that's what I'm talking about. That was supposed to be 12, not 13.
Oh, wow.
I hit the wrong button. I knew what I was doing. I'm not going to cheat because I'm not rigging the election like you are with your multiple super chats in one.
$5 from Alice Rosas. Hashtag Team Josie. Artie's going to talk about some soup.
Unbelievable. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Hashtag Team. I have a lot of respect for Arden, but considering the current events, I feel that supporting Josie is also an endorsement for democracy. So this one is for Josie, but I love you, Arden. That's messed up. That's messed up, Monkey. How cruel of you to lead me on.
Look who's blowing who out of the water now.
Listen, I would rather lose than win by cheating, like you have.
Oh, is that what it is now?
That's it.
Jasmine Bryant. Arden went to bed up in the election, and then there were massive vote dumps. Hashtag Team Josie. You went to bed and then you woke up to the election with massive vote dumps.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Fraud. We all see it.
We call that the Arden Mirage.
There are so many super chats coming in. This is so funny.
The Arden Mirage was real.
Mr. Boricua 10, $5. Hashtag Team Snack Mom because my internet just went out. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Boricua. I appreciate the patriots who are showing up to defend the real election, the rightful winner.
$5 from Clever Name 2. Just found some votes. Hashtag Team Arden. See, you gotta have votes found. You have to have votes found for you. If you can only find me, 5 votes, that's one more than I need.
I think I just need a chatter to find me 5 votes is really what needs to happen.
4 votes. Yeah. 6. Oh wait, I think this one's you, right?
$6.99 from Nonsense Aficionado. I absolutely adore you both, but I'm gonna have to be hashtag Team Arden for those multitasking skills. Hey, Clonidine coming through. ADHD medication for the win.
$10 Canadian from David Haxor. Does gender segregation still make sense in sports ball? Yes, because of the way Title IX. It depends, because if you think about it this way, right? If you were to keep it segregated, that means there's more professional athletes. So if you were to consult, this is a weird argument. I haven't made it publicly yet. But if you were to remove gender segregation from sports ball, then you would have only one professional team rather than having 2 actual professional leagues, which actually gives more people access to professional sports, which I don't know. I'm a big fan of it, but I don't know. It's kind of one of those things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like inclusivity and giving people the chance is really awesome. As far as if you're saying should it be used to keep some trans women out of some sports ball, I don't know that that's completely
I
substantiated.
think
There
it's
might
gender segregation, not sex segregation. So that would be like trans women and trans men
okay, if
and
they meant it
all
that way,
people.
then absolutely,
Yeah,
I endorse that. I mean, at that point, we're really doing a league for the purpose of inclusivity, right, and representation. So that's yeah. But if you meant
yeah.
sex segregation, then I think it's a lot more nuanced. There may be
Why?
some
Why?
situations where an individual may need to be like, you know, it's complicated. And also,
Yeah.
I've talked before about how the frustrating thing was, you know, when women get taken out of sports because they're just too good, that there's no standard like that for men. When men are really good for whatever freak reason, they're just like, wow, they're amazing. How lucky we are to see this awesome athlete. But when women are really good, they're like, nope, you're not really a woman because you're good. So we're going to disqualify you.
Yeah. And look at you conflating gender with sex. Wow. How far are you fallen? The chat sees this.
I mean, I am basically a transmedicalist at this point. So, you know.
$5 from Jimnick06. Gotta vote again for Arden. Thanks for the shout out. Hashtag Josie's werewolf howl. Meh. Hashtag mother of nope
ropes. Nope ropes. That's another goofy
yeah.
name for snakes.
Okay. Oh.
$5 from Alice Rosa's. Hashtag never mind. I don't demand a recount. Hashtag Team Josie.
I'll get my dog in here to howl with me. She'll do it too. $4.99 from poor Claire. Hashtag Team Josie. Arden can't tell us to do. That was a poop joke.
Nice.
Well, thank you for the hashtag Team Josie.
See, this is why you people need to vote for me, because Josie's team is endorsing poop jokes. I don't endorse poop jokes. I'm a serious candidate, and I really think I deserve to be respected as such, but, you know, whatever.
You should vote for my qualifications as a director of the U.S. Trans Survey in the past. It's already been people vote for qualifications, and you should vote for the most qualified.
No, nobody values that here. $5 from Reiko's Dunican. I can't believe how close this race is. Vote to stop partocracy. Hashtag Team Josie.
It's true.
This is the most competitive race we've had so far, I think. I'm enjoying this one.
Yes. $5 Canadian from David Haxor. Team Arden, obviously producer extraordinaire. I feel some producer bias. I don't think producer qualifies you to win this election.
Oh, producer qualifies me to win this show's election because I'm running this show.
Yeah, we already saw you trying to take some backroom votes away.
Wait, this is iconic. This one's yours.
$5 from Cover Name 2. Demonstration on how voting third party is a wasted vote. Hashtag Team Matt.
Yes.
Let's go.
Thank you, Clever Name 2. You are brilliant.
Thank you. Yes. Oh my gosh.
$5 Canadian from SDA, now atheist. I'm guessing that's like some sort of church or something. Hashtag Team Arden because she is the awesomest. Thank you. I love it when people recognize that I'm the awesomest.
This is so close. $5 for melatonin ale. Hashtag Stop the Steal. Hashtag Find Those Votes. Hashtag Team Caballero, because I just got that and I'm here for it. Thank you. I agree. Caballero is awesome.
$4.99 from Anka. Takis on my birthday. May as well give a hashtag Team Josie vote as a gift to myself. Well, happy birthday, even if you make terrible decisions about who you align yourself with.
Yeah. $4.99 from Luis Richardson. Is it too late to voter for Team Squaremate?
Squamate. It's the
Squamate.
It's a scientific classification for, I think it's the class that reptiles fall under. So like
like
Squamata, and then you could have like reptilia and like iguanidae and like, you know, it's like one of the higher order reptile classifications.
Okay.
So boop. And then
this is, I believe, the
vote.
last super chat.
$5 from Janico6. Poor Claire said a poop joke. I will not make a poop joke. I will not make a poop joke. I will not make a poop joke. Hashtag Team Stack Mom. Hashtag hanging Chads. Well, while we did cross the threshold for 20 votes, unfortunately, Team Arden, you let me down. I mean, I know Josie rigged the election. I mean, let's be honest.
I still won with that extra vote. So you know what? I don't even care. I won, and that's what matters. The chat made a great decision. I will represent well as we dethrone Arden from this situation. So
Cerealist Soup has won Cerealist Soup is leading the defense. Okay, hold on. Let me get this.
Oh, look, there was a last hashtag Team Arden. But you know what, David Haxar? It still wasn't enough.
It still wasn't enough. I appreciate it, but all right, here we go. 2 minutes defending cereal is soup.
Oh my gosh! It's a tie. It's
I'm
a tie.
sorry,
the voting booths are closed.
The count is done, David Haxer. I thank you, but my time has started. So, cereal is soup. I mean, I think this is just obviously an objective fact. When we're talking about soup, we're talking about a bowl, right? Some sort of bowl carrying thing with a liquid and then solid food bits on the inside, right? This is what we all understand soup to mean, and obviously cereal falls into that classification. I mean, you know, it's just a whole grain and milk soup. That's what we're talking about here. I mean, honestly, I think 2 minutes is way too much time. I think you guys are going to obviously see that despite being the loser of the election, I am the winner of the arguments and the facts. And that's why I would like to see comments in this show talking about that I convince you that cereal is in fact soup. So now when you get up in the morning and you're talking to your partner and you say, what do you have for breakfast? You could say, I'm going to have soup. And they're going to look at you like, what? You're going to have fucking soup at 8 in the morning? And you can be like, yeah. And then you can walk in with cereal and they'll be like, really? Is that really what you're trying to do? And you can just sit there with a smug superiority knowing that you are technically correct. And technically correct is the best kind of correct. We all aspire to be technically correct at all times because, I mean, it's the best. So, I know there's lots of debates out there, and I think there's harder arguments. Whether a hot dog is a sandwich is a much harder argument to defend, but I think I have shown here and now, that cereal is most certainly soup. In fact, I even had soup while I was getting the show ready. I had chicken tortilla soup, so I actually happen to be a person who understands what soup is. I am a soup understander, a soup maker, if you will. And cereal is good. Hashtag soup is cereal. I'm convinced. Hashtag I'm convinced in chat. I see it. Put that shit in the comments. Thank you, everyone.
No, you have to cook cereal. You have to cook soup. You can't. Are you cooking your cereal to make it a soup?
You have to cook soup?
What is a soup that isn't cooked, that isn't cereal?
Oh, you can have cold soup. It might not be as good to you, but it's still cold.
It was cooked first.
How do you know that? I could have just dumped chicken broth and chicken into a bowl and then be like, whoop, there you go, that's soup.
Oh, yeah, just raw chicken? That's what you're going to do? You're just going to have non-cooked
maybe
chicken?
Why are you judging what I want to put in my soup? Maybe
and what, you made that chicken broth without cooking it first to make it chicken broth?
I bought it at the store. I don't have to cook it to buy it at the store.
Well, the store...
it came in a box. I don't have to cook it to buy it in a box, Josie. It just shows up at the store.
Before it got there.
It just shows up at the store like that, okay? They don't cook it. It just shows up at the store. Everyone knows this. Groceries just appear at the grocery store.
You have to cook it, then it becomes cold soup, everybody. Like, you can't buy this argument. Like,
no
you
way.
Can't just say...
You can have soups that you don't cook.
From the beginning.
and yeah, thanks, my lovely partner coming through in the chat. Thank you for helping me. You think the Cheerios weren't cooked, Josie?
You know what? That's a good point. That's a really good point. I was hoping nobody brought it up.
Absolutely right.
But I guess milk has to be pasteurized too. So I guess that milk was, unless it's a plant milk, then it wasn't heated up. So therefore the broth of a soup was not cooked. So therefore you're good. It's not soup.
See, so
The broth
Josie
of soup
agrees.
is cooked.
You have it there.
The
Josie
broth of
agrees.
soup. The
Josie
broth of
disagreed.
soup has
You
to
have
be
it there,
cooked.
chat. I may have lost the polls, but I won your hearts. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Definitely comment after we wrap up the show to help get us over 1,000 comments for one of these shows. Like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. We will be back, Josie and I, next week here to do more politics at you. So stay tuned, and we will see you guys all next week. Let me roll the outro.
Join the Patreon.
Yeah.
Do it right now. Look right there. Oh, I can't never do this right.
I know it is confusing. Yeah, if you want to get your name over there, you do that by subscribing to our Patreon. We also do a Patreon exclusive podcast where you get to know the hosts on the line a little bit better. That may be on the back burner right now because we have so much coming up for this election. You have no idea how much work we're doing. It's gonna be another big election stream. Thank you guys. We love you. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.